Chapter 506. Ma Guanghui quickly drove away the security guards and then begged again, "Miss Zhou, please forgive me. I was blind this time. Please let me go this time." Although the fat woman did not speak, she was already trembling. Her small business could be destroyed by Zhou Xinzhu with a flick of her fingers. Zhou Xinzhu said with a blank expression, "You didn't offend me." "I know, Miss Zhou, I know." Ma Guanghui turned around and knelt down in front of Qin Haodong. "Little brother, I failed to recognize you. For the sake of my parents and children, just let me go like a fart." Zhou Xinzhu turned to Qin Haodong and said, "What do you think? If you're not satisfied, I'll call Xue Chang'an immediately and ask him to get out of here." Qin Haodong shook his head and said, "Forget it, let's go." He didn't want to drive Ma Guanghui away. It was better for such a snobbish manager to stay in Xue's jewelry, which was more beneficial to Lin's group. Thank you, little brother. Thank you." Ma Guanghui didn't know what he was thinking and thanked him again and again. After leaving the Xue's jewelry store, Qin Haodong looked at Zhou Xinzhu again. At this time, Miss Zhou was like a different person from the first time he met her. Her face was still pretty, but her body had changed dramatically. The places that should be protruding were protruding, and the places that should be concave were concave. Her graceful curves exuded the unique charm of a woman. "It seems that the effect is good. It's all thanks to you," Zhou Xinzhu said as she straightened her chest, revealing a deep ravine in the middle of her lapel suit. "You've changed a lot." Qin Haodong sighed and said. Compared with the first time they met, Zhou Xinzhu seemed to be a different person. She was less cold and more charming. It seemed that the impact of a woman's chest on her character was still very great. Zhou Xinzhu looked at him charmingly and said with a double meaning, "Is it big? I don't think it's big enough." The bodyguards next to her all widened their eyes in surprise. They had been with Zhou Xinzhu for so many years, but they had never seen her show such an expression to any man. Qin Haodong smiled. "Tell me, when did I become your boyfriend? Why didn't I know? When you were at the station, Liu told the Public Security Bureau Chief Dong that you are my boyfriend to get you out. I thought about it and felt having a boyfriend like you is not bad. That's why I agreed." Qin Haodong was speechless. "What do you mean you agreed? The person involved, don't even know." At the same time, he also understood why the director of the Public Security Bureau, Su Biqing, and the headmaster, Ho Wenbin, had such a special attitude towards him. It must have something to do with the eldest daughter of the Zhou family in front of him. "Miss Zhou, I'll stop joking." Qin Haodong said, "Thank you for your help today." Although he could also solve these problems without Zhou Xinzhu, basic etiquette was still necessary. "I just happened to come here to take a walk. I didn't expect to meet these fellows. You don't have to thank me. I've already said that you're my boyfriend. It's my duty to help you teach these ignorant things a lesson." Zhou Xinzhu took the initiative to hold Qin Haodong's arm. "Should we go on a date? You can treat me to a meal or a movie or something." After that, she turned to the 4 bodyguards behind her and said, "You all go back. Haodong will send me back later." After receiving the order, the 4 bodyguards left Zhou Xinzhu and said to Qin Haodong, "Tell me, where are we going to eat?" Qin Haodong was not used to Miss Zhou's enthusiasm. He said, "I can eat, but I already have a girlfriend." "It doesn't matter. It's normal for an excellent man like you to have a girlfriend. It would be strange if you didn't. Aren't you still married? Everyone can compete fairly." While talking, the 2 of them walked forward together. Qin Haodong pointed to the commercial building opposite and said, "By the way, do you know where this property is? Why hasn't it opened yet? Do you want to sell it?" Zhou Xinzhu looked at him in surprise and said, "Didn't you just go to college? Why are you interested in this?" Qin Haodong said, "I have a friend who wants to open a jewelry store in Shanghai. I think this location is good." Zhou Xinzhu said, "This location is really good, but are you sure it's okay to open a jewelry store opposite Xue's jewelry? There's no reason not to. My friend isn't doing it on a small scale. He wants to compete with the entire jewelry market in Shanghai. Even if it's built far away, it will become a rival to Xue's jewelry. In comparison, it's better to build it opposite it. Your idea is really bold and practical, but it's very difficult to take food from Xue's jewelry." Qin Haodong said, "It doesn't matter if it's difficult. We have to do it to know who wins and who loses. This kind of spirit is good." Zhou Xinzhu said, "This commercial building belongs to the Sun family in Shanghai. I heard that they are going to build a business club here and have no intention of selling it." Qin Haodong nodded. It seemed that he had to think of some ways to get this building. He said, "Thank you for providing me with such important information. What do you want to eat?" "What should I eat? I really haven't thought about it yet." Zhou Xinju took Qin Haodong's hand and suddenly pointed to a five-star hotel next to her and said, "Why don't we get a room?" Ahem, Qin Haodong almost choked on his own saliva. It was too fast. Before he could come to his senses, Zhou Xinju had already taken him to the lobby of the hotel. Qin Haodong said with some embarrassment, "Miss Zhou, this is really not appropriate." Although Zhou Xinju was very beautiful and her figure was very attractive, he was still not used to such a bold and unrestrained behavior of getting a room without saying a word. Zhou Xinju ignored him and said to the waiter who came over, "Open my room and then bring up our hotel's signature dishes for Mr. Qin to taste." "Okay, miss, please come with me." After the waiter finished speaking, he respectfully led the two of them to the elevator. Qin Haodong said, "Is this your family's property?" "Yes, this is one of the subordinate hotels of our Zhou family. I have a separate room here, but I rarely have time to come here. Since you're here today, let's have a meal here." Zhou Xinju looked at him with a playful expression and said, "What else did you think it was?" Qin Haodong smiled awkwardly and said, I thought it was also a meal." Soon they arrived at the top floor of the hotel. There was a luxurious presidential suite, which was prepared for Zhou Xinju. The decoration of the room was extremely luxurious. It was surrounded by floor-to-ceiling glass windows. Sitting here and eating, they could have a panoramic view of most of Shanghai. Soon, the waiter brought up a sumptuous meal, then turned around and left, closing the door. There were only two people left in the big room. Qin Haodong said with a smile, "You asked the bodyguards to go back, but you're still showing off your wealth. Aren't you afraid that I'm a bad person? Even my life was saved by you. What's there to be afraid of? No matter what conditions you put forward, I'll agree to them. Tell me, do you want to rob me of my money or my body? As long as you say a number, I'll give it to you immediately. As for my body, there's no need to talk about it. There's a bed over there." Then Zhou Xinju stuck out her chest and gave him a flirtatious look. Qin Haodong was speechless for a moment. He found that this woman really had no defenses against him. In the end, he was still the one being teased. "Let's eat. I'm really hungry." In order to ease the weird atmosphere, he quickly turned his attention to the food in front of him. He had to admit that the chef of a five-star hotel was good at cooking. The taste of the food was very unique. After they ate for a while, Zhou Xinju said, "Actually, I asked you to come here because I have something to ask of you." Qin Haodong said, "What is it? Tell me." Zhou Xinju lowered her head and pointed to her chest. She said with a little shyness, "Well, I want to be a little bigger. Do you still have the breast enhancement and body shaping elixir?" "You want to be a little bigger?" Qin Haodong said in surprise, "Isn't it good now? Sometimes it's not a good choice to be too big." Zhou Xinju said, "You don't know how important breasts are to a woman, especially a woman who is excellent in other aspects but has a defect in breasts. Over the years, my flat chest has become the target of all my enemies. Airport, flat chest, nails, in short, there are a lot of ugly words that hurt my heart, but I have nowhere to complain. The second daughter of the Sun family is called Sun Chanqian. She and I have been classmates since childhood. In terms of appearance and talent, she is no match for me. However, she has a B-cup chest, so when we meet she has to swing her chest in front of me. She often uses this to laugh at me. You know that women are stingy. Although my chest is a little better now, it's only the same size as hers. I want to be a little bigger than her, and then laugh at her to vent the anger that has been suppressed in my heart for many years." "You can do that?" Qin Haodong suddenly opened his mouth wide. He was surprised by the way women compared. Of all things, they had to compare breasts. Zhou Xinju said, "How about it? Are you willing to help me? You can name the price. How about 100 million yuan? 100 million yuan for breast enlargement?" Qin Haodong secretly shook his head. He had really underestimated a woman's vindictiveness. In order to show that her breasts were bigger than the other parties, she had offered 100 million yuan. No one else would do that. He took out a bottle of breast enhancement and body-shaping pills from his pocket and gave it to Zhou Xinju. "Since you want to use it, you can take it. We were not familiar before, so I charged you 100 million yuan. Now we are friends. This bottle of pills is for you." "Thank you, little brother." Zhou Xinju took the small jade bottle and said happily, "I want to use it now. Is there any way to make the effect of the medicine work faster? I can't wait to surpass Sun Chanqian." "There is a way, but it's not very convenient." "What's inconvenient? I'm already yours. If you have any way, just tell me." Qin Haodong was speechless again. He had obviously not taken advantage of her. How could she be his? He said with a little embarrassment, "If I help with massage, the effect of the medicine will work faster. It will take about 20 minutes. Massage? Zhou Xingju instantly became bloated. Her cheeks turned red. Although she spoke boldly, in fact, she had never been in contact with other men. She was still very conservative. She said with a little shyness, "Do you want to take advantage of me?" Qin Haodong quickly explained, "I don't mean that. It's not what you think. You don't need to massage the front. You only need to massage the back." "The back? That's fine." Zhou Xingju said, "Are you full? If you are, let's start now." Although it was a question, she did not wait for Qin Haodong to answer. She turned around and took off her little suit jacket, revealing a black lace underwear. Chapter 507. Humans were indeed strange creatures. Just by taking off a piece of clothing, the atmosphere in the room instantly became ambiguous. "Can we do it now?" Zhou Xingju was still very nervous. Because of her flat chest, she had never even worn a swimsuit. Therefore, this was the first time she had exposed her body in front of a man since she was a child. Qin Haodong said awkwardly, You have to take this off as well. Otherwise, it will affect the effect of breast enhancement." The underwear on Zhou Xingju's body was the B version. If she wore it, it would inevitably hinder her breasts from becoming bigger. "Oh, got it." Zhou Xingju agreed and raised her hand to unbutton the underwear on her back. However, maybe because she was too nervous, she couldn't open it after trying several times. Qin Haodong shook his head. This girl could only take advantage of him with her mouth. She was already so unbearable before they even started. "Let me help you." As he spoke, he raised his hand and untied the strap of Zhou Xingju's underwear. The black lace instantly slipped down. Although he was sitting behind Zhou Xingju and couldn't see the scenery in front of her chest at this moment, both of them felt that everything was different. Out of a woman's instinct, Zhou Xingju couldn't help but raise her hands to protect her chest. Qin Haodong said, "Relax, I'm going to start." Zhou Xingju took a deep breath, slowly put down her hands and forced herself to relax. At this time, there were two little people constantly shouting at her in her heart. One of them shouted, "Don't think too much. He's just a doctor." The other cried, "He's a man, a very handsome man. He makes you feel that you like him very much. He's about to touch your body." Of course, Qin Haodong didn't know this. With 500 years of experience, he was naturally much more determined than Zhou Xingju. Soon, he focused his mind on his hands and began to massage her back. The green wood genuine qi was continuously injected into Zhou Xingju's body through his hands, quickly increasing the efficacy of the breast enhancement and body-shaping pill. Zhou Xingju felt a wave of heat circulating quickly in her body, and then rushed to her chest, bringing a hot feeling there. As time passed, the shyness slowly faded. She began to carefully feel her body. She could even clearly feel that her chest was constantly getting bigger. This feeling was very wonderful. Unknowingly, 20 minutes had passed. The efficacy of the breast enhancement and body-shaping pill had been completely absorbed by her body. "All right." Qin Haodong took a deep breath and slowly withdrew his hands. The effect of the medicine was pretty good. Although he couldn't see the scenery in front of him from the back, he could still estimate the size of the growth in front of him from the bulging curves on both sides. "Oh?" Zhou Xingju answered and slowly opened her eyes. She immediately felt the changes in her chest. Seeing the magnificent scale, her breathing couldn't help but quicken. C-cup, a scene that had appeared in his dreams countless times, had finally come true. Then thinking that there was a young man sitting behind her, she began to become nervous and shy again. She quickly reached out to grab the underwear next to her, but soon found that the underwear was too small and could not accommodate her current figure. "Damn it, I should have prepared some clothes in advance." Zhou Xingju cursed in her heart, but it was too late to regret it now. It was an accident that she had met Qin Haodong. She had no choice but to wear the small lapel suit over her body. However, due to the rapid change in her figure, the decent suit had also become thin and small. It could barely cover her body. After putting it on, two graceful curves and a bottomless gully were revealed at the neckline. Qin Haodong said, "How is it? Is the effect good?" "Very good, thank you," Zhou Xingju said as she turned around. Although she knew that it would be a bit revealing, she couldn't always turn her back to Qin Haodong. What the hell? Looking at the tight little suit that could explode at any time, Qin Haodong intimately felt the difference between AB cup and AC cup. The scale, the curve, and the gully were always there, exuding endless temptation to a man. "What are you looking at? Have you never seen a woman with big breasts?" When Zhou Xingju said this, she felt very strange. She was a little shy, a little carefree, and also a little bit of a woman's pride. Qin Haodong said with a smile, "I've never seen a woman with such big breasts wearing such small clothes." You'd better hurry up and find suitable clothes. Otherwise, when you go out later, there will be a lot of people looking at you. Maybe someone will take a picture and send it to the internet. It will become the screensaver of countless men. I don't have clothes here, Zhou Xinju said with a little annoyance. Who knew that I would meet you? As a result, I ended up like this. Now I punish you to accompany me to buy clothes. Qin Haodong was speechless. He didn't expect that after being a doctor for breast enlargement, he would be in trouble. Let's go. What are you waiting for? Zhou Xinju said as she stood up. She didn't expect that it would become more and more embarrassing. It should be known that the breast enhancement and body shaping pill was not just a simple breast enlargement. It also caused a graceful change in her body shape. The front was protruding and the back was curving. The short skirt below also became thinner, clearly outlining the curve of her buttocks. Today she was wearing a small suit with a short skirt. Originally, this kind of dress made her look fashionable and refreshing, but now she didn't feel anything else. She only felt sexy. Her plump figure was about to be revealed under the thin clothes. Let's go. Zhou Xinju was extremely unaccustomed to being looked at like this. She quickly pulled Qin Haodong out of the room. After going out, her appearance and dress attracted a lot of people's attention as expected. Every time someone looked at her, Zhou Xinju couldn't help but cling tightly to Qin Haodong's body, trying to use Qin Haodong to cover up her chest. However, Qin Haodong was embarrassed. Not only could he see the two hemispheres that had become more and more prominent due to the compression, but he could also clearly feel the softness and elasticity. The most important thing was that he clearly knew that there was nothing under the small suit. He quickly calmed down and diverted his attention. Otherwise, once he attracted the attention of the second leader, he would be the one who would be embarrassed. Fortunately, there was a large clothing store next to them after they went out. The two of them quickly walked in. At this time, they didn't have time to choose too much. They quickly bought a long skirt and changed their small clothes. Then they walked into a lingerie store. This was an extremely high-end lingerie store. Although he didn't know the brands with English letters, he could see the price of each lingerie. Most of them were more than 5 digits. This kind of high-end consumer price meant that there were not many people who could afford it. In addition, it was almost late at night. There were only Qin Haodong, Zhou Xinju, and 2 shop assistants in the whole store. It looked very quiet. This was a women's lingerie store. There were all kinds of women's lingerie, including beautiful and sexy bikinis and many fancy and sexy lingerie. Qin Haodong couldn't help blushing and his heart beating fast. A man staying in a women's lingerie store made Qin Haodong feel a little embarrassed. He said, "Take your time to choose here. I'll wait for you outside." "Don't go. I'll choose the right lingerie later. I want you to help me see if it's beautiful or not," Zhou Xinju said as she gently bit her lip and winked at him. This is blatant flirting. Under the strange gaze of the shop assistant, Qin Haodong said awkwardly, "I don't think it's appropriate for you to choose lingerie." Zhou Xinju pressed him down on the chair and said, "What's inappropriate about it? Who else can see my lingerie except you?" At this time, the shop assistant had completely determined the relationship between the two of them and said, "Yes, the boyfriend has the most right to say whether a woman's lingerie is beautiful or not." Qin Haodong didn't want to explain too much. He simply took out his mobile phone from his pocket and looked at it to ease his embarrassment. In fact, Zhou Xinju didn't give him a chance to look at his mobile phone at all. What they were going to enjoy next was a lingerie reality show. The young lady of the Zhou family kept trying on all kinds of lingerie and then walked back and forth in front of Qin Haodong. She had to give an evaluation. Watching a beautiful woman's lingerie show was a kind of enjoyment for a man, but it was also a kind of embarrassment at this time. Because the 2 shop assistants were standing next to him, he had to control his reaction at all times so that others wouldn't see his seriously deformed pants. Only he could understand this feeling. Zhou Xinju changed into a beautiful and sexy set of lingerie and came to Qin Haodong. "How is it? Isn't it beautiful and sexy?" "It's beautiful. Very sexy." Qin Haodong already had a feeling of being conquered. He said helplessly, "Miss, you've already bought 7 or 8 sets of lingerie. Is that enough?" "What do you know? A woman's lingerie has to be changed every day, so we naturally have to prepare more." Zhou Xinju didn't pay any attention to Qin Haodong's dissuasion. After walking around in front of the mirror, she turned around and said to Qin Haodong, "Are you sure it's sexy?" "I'm sure," Qin Haodong said as he moved his eyes to the side, not to cover up his lie but to avoid embarrassment. Now Zhou Xinju's figure was really good. She was curvy and graceful. All the words that could be used to praise a woman's figure could be used on her. Any man who looked at her for a long time would have a reaction. You're lying. Zhou Xinzhu didn't want to let him go. She walked in front of him, bent down and whispered in his ear, people say that to test whether a woman is sexy or not, it depends on whether a man has a reaction or not. It seems that there is no reaction here. As she spoke, her eyes glanced at Qin Haodong. What the F***ck? How can you test it like this? At this time Zhou Xinzhu breathed in his ear. Because she lowered her body, the two huge hemispheres immediately appeared in front of him. How could he live like this? At this moment all the previous efforts were lost in an instant. The second leader stood up with his head held high. Seeing Qin Haodong's reaction, Zhou Xinzhu giggled and said, "Well, now I believe you. You really didn't lie." The dignified Emperor Greenwood was actually teased like this by a woman. If it weren't for the two shop assistants next to him, Qin Haodong really wanted to grab this woman and spank her hard. At this moment, the door of the shop opened and another woman came in. "Welcome." A shop assistant immediately greeted her, and several people's eyes turned to the woman who came in at the same time. After seeing the woman's appearance, Zhou Xinzhu's expression suddenly changed because the person who came in was the second daughter of the Sun family, Sun Qianqian. She was also the woman who had despised her for having a flat chest countless times and trampled on her self-esteem countless times. At this time, Sun Qianqian also noticed Zhou Xinzhu. A sneer flashed across her face and then she walked over in her high heels. Chapter 508. Qin Haodong noticed that Zhou Xinzhu was different. He asked in a low voice, "Do you know each other?" Zhou Xinzhu said, "She's Sun Qianqian." Qin Haodong looked at the woman again. They were both young ladies, but Sun Qianqian was much worse than Zhou Xinzhu in both appearance and aura. Only her breasts looked quite straight. It was no wonder that she often used this to attack Zhou Xinzhu, because her other aspects were really not presentable. Moreover, this woman had high cheekbones and thin lips. At first glance, one could tell that she was a mean person. "Xinzhu, it's so strange that I can see you here," Sun Qianqian said with an exaggerated expression. "In fact, I think that although your Zhou family is rich, you shouldn't spend money like this. A woman like you who has inherited your father's excellent genes, doesn't need to wear underwear." Due to the angle, she could only see Zhou Xinzhu's neck at first. As she spoke, she bypassed the shelves and the waitress and suddenly saw Zhou Xinzhu's perfect figure in sexy underwear. She suddenly felt as if her neck had been strangled. She looked at Zhou Xinzhu's bulging breasts, sexy and plump buttocks and curvy curves. She said embarrassedly, "I'm sorry, miss. I mistook you for someone else." "No, you didn't mistake me for someone else. Old classmate, second Miss Sun, I'm Zhou Xinzhu who you once called the airport." As Zhou Xinzhu spoke, she looked at Sun Qianqian playfully. She seemed to be very satisfied with the effect of her shock. How is this possible? After confirming that the person in front of her was Zhou Xinzhu, Sun Qianqian opened her mouth in surprise and couldn't close it for a long time. Nothing is impossible. Zhou Xinzhu swayed her sexy body and came in front of Sun Qianqian. She made a few sexy and charming gestures in succession, showing her beautiful figure incisively and vividly. "Old classmate, I just developed a little later than you. Now I'm fully developed. Now I'm 35C. What do you think? Are you envious?" Seeing Sun Qianqian's shocked expression, Zhou Xinzhu felt extremely happy. Over the years, she had really had enough of this woman's sarcasm. Then she said, "Sorry, I was wrong. Maybe I haven't fully developed yet. I may become 35D in a few days." Speaking up to this point, she held her chest and put on a vexed expression. "Actually, this is quite annoying. The bigger it gets, the more I have to change my underwear. Although our Zhou family is rich, this is not the way to spend money. The more I grow, the bigger I grow, the more I have to constantly change my underwear. Although our Zhou family is rich, we can't spend money like this." Zhou Xinzhu was stunned. Sun Qianqian stood there like a wax statue. She had suffered a great blow today. In her mind, Zhou Xinzhu could only be a flat-chested woman. She could only be ridiculed by her. She had never dreamed that one day Zhou Xinzhu would have a better figure than her or even the best. How was she going to vent her jealousy? How was she going to use her breasts to mock him? How was she going to regain her self-esteem? "Second Miss Sun, do you think the underwear I chose is beautiful?" As she spoke, Zhou Xinzhu took a piece of lingerie that she had just chosen and took a picture of Sun Qianqian's chest. Then she said with an admiring expression, "It's really good. My taste is still good, but your chest is too small. You can't hold it up even if you wear a bra. It doesn't show the effect of this kind of sexy lingerie at all." Seeing Miss Zhou's series of sharp counterattacks, Qin Haodong shook his head and couldn't help but think, why should a woman embarrass another woman? However, he could also understand Zhou Xinju's mood. Anyone who had been ridiculed by others for so many years would find an opportunity to vent their emotions. Only then did Sun Qianqian come to her senses. She pushed Zhou Xinju's hand away and said angrily, "Enough. Isn't it just a breast augmentation surgery? What's so great about them? They're all fake stuffed with silicone gel." "What's wrong? Old classmate, are you angry?" Zhou Xinju put on the tone that Sun Qianqian used to use when she was angry and said, "You're envious and jealous. I've already said that I just developed a little late. Mine is completely natural. If your chest is too small, you can inject some silicone gel, but that thing has side effects. It might cause necrosis and be removed. You must be careful." Sun Qianqian had never dreamed that she would be laughed at by others for having a small chest. If it was someone else, she could bear it. However, the other party was the flat-chested woman that she had always laughed at. However, the fact was in front of her. Sun Qianqian's figure was better than hers. It was useless no matter what she said. Suddenly, she saw Qin Haodong, who was watching the show with interest. She suddenly thought of something and shouted, "Miss Zhou, is this the toy boy you found? He doesn't have good taste. He looks like a poor man." Qin Haodong was watching with great interest. He didn't expect that the battle would suddenly shift to him. "What does it have to do with me whether you two women are bigger or smaller? Is this the legendary unjustly implicated?" Zhou Xinju came to Qin Haodong's side and put her arms around his neck. He was sitting on a chair while Zhou Xinju was standing. This height was just enough for her chest to stick to his cheek. "Yes, let me introduce my boyfriend, Qin Haodong." Sun Qianqian finally seized the opportunity to fight back. She said harshly, "He's just a poor boy. I didn't expect the dignified Miss Zhou to degenerate like this. You can't find a boyfriend and can only rely on a sugar daddy." Zhou Xinju didn't care at all. She smiled and said, "Are you looking down on me? Let me tell you, Haodong is very capable. Do you know why my chest grew so fast? It was because of him." Qin Haodong was speechless. He thought to himself, "You are the young ladies of a big family. Can't you have a bottom line? What do you mean I made it big? I haven't touched it yet, okay?" "Zhou Xinju, don't lie to me. How is that possible?" Sun Qianqian didn't believe it. "Is it necessary to lie to you?" Zhou Xinju said, "What I said is true. As long as Haodong wants to, he can make your chest D in one night. It's a pity that you're too ugly. My boyfriend doesn't like you." "You?" Sun Qianqian was so angry that her face turned red and she couldn't speak. She didn't expect that not only had Zhou Xinju's chest become bigger, but her words had also become so sharp. "Well, we're classmates anyway. I have to leave you some self-esteem. I'm leaving or you'll be too embarrassed to try on underwear." Zhou Xinju glanced at Sun Qianqian proudly. Then she put on her clothes, paid the bill and walked out of the door with Qin Haodong's arm. After going out, she immediately laughed proudly and said, "It's great. It's really great. I've never felt so great in my life." Then she hugged Qin Haodong and kissed him hard on the cheek. "Thank you. You finally helped me get revenge today." Qin Haodong wiped his cheeks in astonishment and said, "I really don't understand women. Is it necessary to care so much about who's older and who's younger?" "Of course it's necessary." Zhou Xinju said, "After so many years, do you know how many times I've been ridiculed by Sun Qianqian? It's not about the size of my chest. It's about a woman's dignity." Then she glanced at Qin Haodong's breasts and said, "For example, if someone says that your breasts are short and small every day for several years, but your breasts are really short and small, what would you do?" Qin Haodong was speechless. Her breasts had nothing to do with being short and small, okay? However, it was undeniable that Zhou Xinju's analogy was really appropriate. "Tell me, what would you do?" Qin Haodong said helplessly, "I would fantasize that one day I would grow bigger and then take revenge on her." Zhou Xinju patted him on the shoulder and cried, "That's right. It's the same reason. I can finally hold my head high today. Let's see if she still dares to say that I'm a flat-chested woman. But it's fine if you want to take revenge. Why did you lie about me?" "How did I lie? You said that I made it big, but I didn't touch your breasts at all. Am I wrong? Weren't you the one who made it big?" Zhou Xinju took his hand and said with a playful expression, "I see. Do you really want to touch it?" Of course, Qin Haodong would not admit it in the face of such a big problem. He said righteously, "What are you talking about? I just can't stand your lying." Zhou Xinju suddenly held his hand in front of her chest, then said with a smile, "Now it's not a lie, right?" "It seems so." Qin Haodong said embarrassedly, "Let's go. Accompany me to have a good look at the night view of Shanghai." Zhou Xinju held Qin Haodong's hand and said with great interest, It's so late at night. What's there to see? What's wrong with the night? I'm happy today. I've thought about it. Why did I get breast cancer with such a small chest? It must have something to do with my depressed mood all day, so I want to say goodbye to the past in the future and live happily. The two of them walked aimlessly on the streets of Shanghai. As a native of Shanghai, Zhou Xinzhu was very familiar with everything here. However, she was not looking at the street view but her mood. For so many years she had never been as happy as she was now. After Zhou Xinzhu left, Sun Chanshan turned around and left the lingerie store. She reached out and called the 4 bodyguards guarding the door. She said to 2 of them, "Follow them." "Yes, miss." After that, the 2 of them quietly followed Qin Haodong and Zhou Xinzhu. Sun Chanshan returned to the car, took out her mobile phone and dialed her brother, Sun Onbong's number. As a big family in Shanghai, the Sun family had a division of labor in all departments. As a direct descendant of the family, Sun Onbong was in charge of the Sun family's intelligence system. "Brother, I want you to help me investigate something." "Tell me what's the matter?" Sun Onbong was very fond of his sister. Sun Chanshan briefly told him about her encounter with Zhou Xinzhu today, then said, "I want you to help me investigate how Zhou Xinzhu's chest became bigger. Does it have anything to do with that gigolo boy?" Sun Onbong had just taken a sip of red wine. He spat it out and said helplessly, "Sister, you want me to investigate this?" "Yes, this is very important to me. I must find out." "Well, wait for my call. We'll get the results soon." Out of love for his sister, Sun Onbong agreed. As a big family in the capital, their intelligence system was indeed very powerful. They soon got the result. He called Sun Chanshan again. "Sister, according to our insider in the Zhou family, Zhou Xinzhu's chest became bigger overnight. It does have something to do with the little doctor surnamed Qin. Legend has it that she took a medicine called the breast enhancement and body shaping elixir." Sun Chanshan said in disbelief, "Brother, is this news reliable? Is there really a magic medicine that can make people's breasts grow overnight?" Sun Onbong said, "The news is very reliable. Zhou Xinzhu's assistant, Lu Yu, also took this medicine. Her chest also increased by a whole size." After hanging up the phone, Sun Chanshan's eyes lit up and she said, "I must get the breast enhancement and body shaping elixir." Chapter 509. Qin Haodong accompanied Zhou Xinzhu on the street. Soon he felt that someone was following them. At first he thought that the 2 people were coming for Zhou Xinzhu, but after creating several suitable opportunities for them to attack, the 2 people behind him still did not move. "Did I make a mistake?" He sent Zhou Xinzhu back to the Zhou family with doubts. Later he found that the 2 people were still following him. It seemed that they were not coming for Zhou Xinzhu but for him. Since it was his own trouble, he should solve it as soon as possible. He came to a secluded place, turned around and said to the 2 people behind him, "Come out." At this moment, 3 off-road vehicles sped over from a distance, surrounding Qin Haodong in the middle in a triangle. After the vehicles were parked, Sun Chanshan jumped out of the car with more than a dozen bodyguards and met up with the 2 bodyguards hiding in the dark. Only then did Qin Haodong figure out what was going on. It turned out that these people had been waiting for Zhou Xinzhu to come home so that they could make a move on him. He had basically guessed the other party's purpose. He said lightly, "Miss Sun, I didn't expect to meet you again so soon. What's the matter?" Sun Chanshan said with a fierce face, "Cut the crap. Hand over the breast enhancement and body shaping elixir now, or I'll cripple you today." Qin Haodong said, "It seems that your Sun family is very strong. You found out the truth so quickly." Sun Chanshan said angrily, "It's you who made Zhou Xinzhu's chest bigger. You made me lose face tonight. Hand over the elixir now, or I'll throw you into the river to feed the fish." Qin Haodong said, "Yes, I do have this kind of elixir, but didn't you find out? My elixir is very expensive. It costs 100 million yuan per bottle." This time, before Sun Chanshan could speak, a bald bodyguard standing next to her said, "Are you King crazy? Do you know who she is? She's the second miss of the Sun family. Taking your elixir is giving you face. How dare you ask for money? Do you want to die? Do you believe that I'll break your legs now?" Qin Haodong was about to lose his temper when he was about to lose his temper. Suddenly, he thought of something and said with a frightened expression, "Can you give me less money? 50 million is fine." The bald bodyguard grabbed his collar and said fiercely, "Do you want money more than your life? Hurry up and take out the medicine." I'll give it to you right away." Qin Haodong tremblingly took out a small medicine bottle from his pocket and handed it to the bald bodyguard. The bald bodyguard pushed him away and respectfully handed the small medicine bottle to Sun Chanshan. Sun Shanshan opened the bottle and saw a black pill inside. It should be the breast enhancement and body shaping pill. Her face lit up with joy. After covering the lid again, she said, "How can one be enough? Hurry up and hand over all your medicine. You're only allowed to marry me in the future. If I find out that you married that bitch Zhou Xinzhu again, I promise you won't be able to see the sun tomorrow." I know. Qin Haodong tremblingly took out 2 more small jade bottles from his pocket and said, "Miss Sun, that's all. Don't take too much of this kind of medicine to increase your cup size." Sun Shanshan took the jade bottles and checked them. There was a small black pill in each bottle. After putting away the pills, she said again, "I'm warning you. You're only allowed to marry me in the future. You're not allowed to marry that bitch Zhou Xinzhu." Qin Haodong said repeatedly, I know. These are the last 3 pills. Even if you want to marry me, there's no more." Seemingly very satisfied with his reaction, Sun Shanshan waved her hand to her subordinates and said, "Let's go." Looking at the 3 SUVs driving away, Qin Haodong couldn't help but smile playfully. "You want to steal my medicine? I don't know who's going to steal who." When he returned home, he was surprised to find that he had just watched a beauty's underwear show, and now he was watching a pajama show with 4 beauties. Nailin Wushuang and the other 3 were not asleep. They were wearing sexy pajamas of various colors and sitting on the sofa watching TV. Even Jia Shirhan had been led astray by them. She was also wearing a black lace pajamas, which looked faintly discernible, making people's imagination run wild. "You're back." Seeing Qin Haodong enter the door, the 4 of them stood up together. For a moment, the spring scenery surged. Qin Haodong's nostrils became hot. He quickly said hello and ran back to his room. It seemed that having too many women was also troublesome. He simply washed up and took out his mobile phone to call Lin Momo. "Papa, why did you call so late? I miss you so much." The sweet voice of the little fellow came from the other side of the phone. "Papa has some things to do, so I called you." Qin Haodong said, Tang, why haven't you slept yet?" "I couldn't sleep because I didn't receive a call from Papa." Lin Momo said, Tang insisted on waiting for your call. She refused to sleep no matter what." Qin Haodong was moved. His daughter was so considerate. The little fellow asked, "Papa, I miss you. When will you come back?" Qin Haodong said, "Papa can't go back in a short time, but I can take you to Shanghai soon. Then I can take you out to play." "Really? That's great. I miss Papa so much." The little fellow chatted with Qin Haodong for a long time before she went to bed. Lin Momo took the phone. Qin Haodong said, "How are the preparations at home?" Lin Momo said, "Almost ready. We're just waiting for your news. We can go to Shanghai at any time." Qin Haodong said, "I also have some ideas. The day after tomorrow you can take the little fellow to Shanghai, and then start the preparation work of Lin's jewelry in Shanghai." "So soon? Is there a suitable place?" "Not yet, but there will be one tomorrow." Qin Haodong told her about the commercial building opposite Shui's jewelry, and then said, "I think it's the most suitable place for Lin's group to move." "It's good, but will they sell it?" Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Don't worry, I'll get the house tomorrow." After talking about work, Lin Momo complained about her lovesickness and hung up the phone for a long time. In the Sun family's house in Shanghai, Sun Shanshan closed the door and excitedly put 3 small jade bottles in front of her. "Zhou Xinzhu, let's see how you can compete with me this time," Sun Shanshan murmured. She had no doubt that there would be something wrong with these 3 bottles of medicine, because Qin Haodong had not prepared anything before. No one would carry 3 bottles of fake medicine with them. She first opened a small jade bottle, took out a black pill and threw it into her mouth. The pill melted in her mouth and she didn't even use the water she had prepared. Soon she felt a heat in her chest as if there was a swelling feeling. She was so excited that she didn't feel this swelling feeling. Only the right side of her chest felt this way. It seemed that this breast enhancement and body shaping pill was really effective. It was said that 1 pill could increase 1 cup size. If she only took 1, she would be at the same level as Zhou Xinzhu, which was obviously not what she wanted. After hesitating for a moment, she directly threw the remaining 2 small black pills into her mouth. "Zhou Xinzhu, I will become an E-cup tomorrow. Let's see how you can compete with me then." It had to be said that jealousy was really a terrible power. At that moment, Sun Shanshan had become almost crazy. She never thought about whether she was really suitable for an E-cup. With the excitement of becoming a bosom tyrant, Sun Shanshan slowly fell asleep. The next morning, when she opened her eyes, the first thing she did was to touch her chest. "So big, really big. I have finally become a bosom tyrant. Let's see how that little girl, Zhou Xinzhu, can compete with me." In the midst of the intense excitement, Sun Chanshan suddenly sat up from the bed and looked down at her chest. At first glance, she felt as if she had been struck by lightning. She saw that the right side of her chest was indeed majestic. It was a solid E cup, but the left side of her chest was gone. Not only did it not grow into an E cup, but even the previous B cup was gone. There was only a nail cap left on her chest. Ah! Sun Chanshan suddenly howled crazily. Her dream of becoming a bosom tyrant had not been realized. On the contrary, she had become such a monster. How could she go out and meet people? Hearing her cry, the bodyguards outside the door immediately rushed in, thinking that something had happened. Miss, what's wrong? Several bodyguards pulled out their pistols and scanned the room vigilantly, but they did not see anyone. Sun Chanshan quickly pulled up the quilt and covered her deformed chest. She shouted crazily, "Get out, all of you get out!" After the bodyguards confirmed that there was no danger, they looked at the miss with a strange expression and then left the room. Sun Chanshan slowly regained a trace of rationality. She looked at her strange chest and murmured, "What should I do? What should I do?" Her current situation was much more serious than Zhou Xinju's. Zhou Xinju had only taken one black pill. If she had worn loose clothes, it would not have been obvious. However, she had taken 3 black breast enhancement and body-shaping pills at once. Under the rapid growth of her right chest, even the fat on the left chest had been absorbed. The difference between the left and the right chest was so big that it could not be covered even if she wanted to. Damn it, it must be that gigolo boy playing with me. I'll kill you. I must kill you. Sun Chanshan roared crazily. At this moment, Qin Haodong had just finished making breakfast for the 4 women. He said to Nalan Wushuang, "I have something to deal with today. When you arrive at school, ask for a leave for me." Li Meiyu said discontentedly, "You came back so late last night. What are you going to do now? It's the first day of school. Aren't you afraid of being expelled from school?" Qin Haodong laughed. If it had been before, he would have been a little worried. Now that Nalan Wushuang and Qi Wan-er were protecting Li Meiyu, it did not matter whether he was expelled or not. It could even be said that he would have more freedom if he was expelled. "I really have something to do. Hurry up and go to school or you'll be late later." After sending off Li Meiyu and the other 2, Qin Haodong had just walked out of the house when the phone in his pocket rang. He glanced at the caller ID. Although it was a strange number, he could guess who was calling. After pressing the answer button, sure enough, Sun Chanshan's crazy cry came from the other side. "Qin, you dare to play with me? I must kill you." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Miss Sun, if you stole it yourself, you can't blame me at all. How many did you eat? Does it feel good to have big breasts? I'll kill you. I must kill you. I'll tear you into pieces." Sun Chanshan was about to go crazy with anger. Qin Haodong was not moved at all. He said lightly, "Miss Sun, I don't know how many you ate. If you really kill me, you can only be a woman with big breasts for the rest of your life." After hearing this, Sun Chanshan immediately calmed down a lot and said, "Do you mean that my breasts can be cured?" Qin Haodong said, "Of course, but within 24 hours. If it exceeds 24 hours, even the gods can't do anything about it. You can only consider going to the hospital to have it cut off here." As a woman, no one was willing to have their breasts cut off, and Sun Chanshan was no exception. She asked coldly, "Tell me, what are your conditions?" Chapter 510. Qin Haodong said, "To tell you the truth, I like the building opposite Shui's jewelry. Give it to me and I'll cure your illness." Sun Chanshan cried, "That's impossible. That building is worth at least 500 million yuan. How can I give it to you? This is robbery." Qin Haodong said, "Even if it's robbery, you can't blame others. Originally, I wanted to have a good talk with your Sun family, but you brought people to steal my medicine, so you can't blame me for robbing your building." Sun Chanshan gritted her teeth and said, "Qin, let me tell you, you can't be too greedy. I can give you some money, but you can't take the building. When you took 3 breast enhancement and body-shaping pills from me, did you ever think that you were too greedy?" Qin Haodong said lightly, "I don't want money. I just want your building." "Okay, tell me where you are. I'll sign the agreement with you now." On the other side of the phone, Sun Chanshan was so angry that her eyes were spitting fire. She wanted to kill Qin Haodong immediately. "Hurry up. I'm very busy. I'll only give you 10 minutes. After hanging up the phone, Qin Haodong sent his address to Sun Chanshan. About 7 or 8 minutes later, 10 off-road vehicles sped over and surrounded Qin Haodong with a shrill braking sound. After the cars stopped, 20 or 30 people jumped out. The leader was Sun Chanshan and the bald bodyguard was next to her. Qin Haodong glanced at Sun Chanshan's chest and almost laughed. The woman's right chest was a few sizes bigger than yesterday and looked particularly eye-catching. At the moment, her left side was also bulging. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be a balloon filled with water. No one knew how she came up with this idea. Under the cover of the coat, it would be hard to find if one did not look carefully. However, this way Sun Chanshan did everything carefully for fear of breaking the water balloon on the left side. After getting out of the car, the bald bodyguard immediately took out a short knife and pressed it against Qin Haodong's neck. He said fiercely, "Boy, how dare you trick our miss? Hand over the medicine quickly." As the head of Sun Chanshan's bodyguards, he more or less knew something. Qin Haodong glanced at him as if he didn't see the knife. He smiled faintly and said, "What if I don't hand it over? If you don't hand it over, I'll kill you immediately. In Shanghai, killing someone from our Sun family is no different from killing an ant." "So powerful?" Qin Haodong laughed and said, "Kill me if you can. Let me tell you, as long as you hurt a strand of my hair, your lady's illness will never be cured, or it may even get worse. You are courting death." The bald bodyguard's eyes were fierce, and he was about to kill Qin Haodong. He was not afraid, but Sun Chanshan was afraid of Qin Haodong's threat. If this guy made her right breast grow a few more sizes, she would be completely crippled. "Sunwei, come back here." After calling the bald bodyguard back, she stepped forward and said, "Qin Haodong, can you really cure my disease?" "That's right. Let's talk things out." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Others can't cure it, but it's very simple for me. As long as I want to, I can cure it in minutes." Sun Chanshan said, "How can I believe you?" Qin Haodong took out a small jade bottle from his pocket and opened the lid. There were 3 red breast enhancement and body shaping elixirs inside. "It seems that your Sun family's intelligence system is not in place. You didn't find out that my breast enhancement and body shaping elixirs were originally a pair, with the red one on the left and the black one on the right. You snatched 3 black ones at once, so it became like this. It's very easy to change the situation. Take these 3 red ones within 24 hours. Not only will they cure your disease, but they will also fulfill your wish of breast enhancement." Sun Chanshan's eyes lit up. Only then did she understand what her problem was. Then her expression changed and she shouted to the bodyguard behind her, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and snatch it for me." Sunwei was already prepared. After hearing the order, he rushed forward with his people and surrounded Qin Haodong. "Kid, hand over the medicine." Sunwei's skills were also good. He reached out to grab the small jade bottle in Qin Haodong's hand. However, he didn't manage to grab anything. Then he felt a pain in his head. Qin Haodong had hit his bald head with a cannon. The hit was loud and clear. It was full of strength. A big red and purple bump immediately appeared in the middle of Sunwei's forehead. It looked like a unicorn. "How dare you hit me?" Sunwei was shocked and angry. He thought that this young man would be as weak and easy to bully as he was yesterday. He didn't expect that it was just Qin Haodong's disguise. His purpose was to trick Sun Chanshan. "What the F***ck are you waiting for? Let's go together and cripple him." Sunwei roared at the bodyguards behind him. The bodyguards came to their senses and rushed towards Qin Haodong together. However, strength and quantity were not proportional most of the time. These bodyguards were eager to make a contribution in front of their master. However, they soon realized how pitiful they were. The person in front of them was not a weak and easy to bully, but an extremely fierce tiger. In less than 2 minutes, more than 20 bodyguards were all knocked to the ground. They wailed and screamed. The one who suffered the most was the leader, Sunwei. At that moment, his bald head was covered with big green and purple bumps. He had turned from a unicorn to a Sakyamuni. Qin Haodong grabbed his collar and patted his face. He smiled and said, "How is it? Are you satisfied with this hairstyle? You're actually a martial artist?" Although Sunwei hadn't even entered the ranks of obvious strength, the Sun family, as one of the 3 big families in Shanghai, had always been famous for their martial arts. There were many martial arts masters in the family. He had never eaten fat pork, but he had seen fat pigs run. He could immediately tell that Qin Haodong was also a martial arts master. "You're right. Not only am I a martial artist, but I'm also very powerful. Remember not to cause trouble for me in the future." Qin Haodong kicked Sunwei away and turned his head to look at Sun Chanshan. "How dare you lie to me? Where's the basic integrity of a person? Where's the trust between people? We agreed to sign a contract, but you brought people to steal my medicine. How do you think I should punish you?" Sun Chanshan had never dreamed that Qin Haodong would be so fierce. He had actually taken care of so many bodyguards in the blink of an eye. Without the support of her bodyguards, she immediately lost her confidence. She took 2 steps back and shouted fiercely, "I'm telling you, don't mess around. I'm the second daughter of the Sun family." "Of course I know you're the second daughter of the Sun family. That's why I want that building." Sun Shanshan said, "It's impossible for me to get the building. I can give you money. I'll give you 100 million yuan according to the price you said, as long as you give me the red pills in your hand." Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Now you want to pay, but that was yesterday's price. The price has increased today. 1 pill is 1 billion yuan, and 3 pills are 3 billion yuan. Do you still want to buy it?" "You're robbing? It's you who's robbing me, Miss Sunday. You robbed me yesterday and today you're robbing me again. I never suffer losses. Since you robbed me, I'll naturally rob you." Qin Haodong smiled, shook the small jade bottle in his hand and said, "Miss Sun, a friendly reminder. It's better to exchange the building for it. It's more cost-effective." "No, this is absolutely not possible." Although Sun Shanshan was also the third generation of the Sun family, she was in charge of some projects, including that building. However, she did not have the status of Zhou Xinzhu in the Zhou family. If she took out that building to exchange for breast enhancement medicine and the old man of the Sun family found out, she would inevitably be severely punished. "It's up to you whether you can or not. I've never forced people. However, you brought people to make trouble for me today, which made me very unhappy, so I have to punish you." As Qin Haodong spoke, a shiny silver needle appeared in his hand. "What are you doing? I'm telling you, don't mess around. I'm the second daughter of the Sun family." Before Sun Shanshan could finish her threat, there was a popping sound. The water ball that was placed on the left side of her chest to find balance was pierced by the silver needle. The water inside immediately spilled out, wetting the clothes on her chest. After the water ball broke, both sides of Sun Shanshan's chest immediately lost balance. One side was high while the other side was flat and low. Coupled with the fact that her wet clothes were clinging to her chest, the scene looked even clearer and even more ridiculous. "Qin Haodong, I'm going to kill you?" Sun Shanshan roared crazily. Qin Haodong smiled slightly, "It doesn't matter if you want to kill me. There are many people who want to kill me, but I'm still alive. However, I need to remind you that this medicine is only effective within 24 hours. If it exceeds 24 hours, it will be useless even if you take it. You can only be like this for the rest of your life. By the way, the time starts from the moment you took the black pill last night." After that, he left, leaving behind the battered Sun Shanshan and the bodyguards wailing on the ground. Sun Shanshan gritted her teeth in hatred. However, her current image was indeed not suitable for her to stay outside for too long. She took the head bodyguard, Sun Wei, and quickly drove back to the Sun family. After returning to the room, Sun Wei said bitterly, "Second miss, we can't just let it go like this." As he spoke, he habitually raised his hand to wipe his bald head. However, he suddenly touched a big bump on his head, causing him to grimace in pain. Sun Shanshan changed her clothes and took a towel to cover her chest. She said with a gloomy face, "Of course we can't just let it go like this. However, this kid is much more difficult to deal with than we thought. We need to think of some ways." "Second miss, it's actually easy. Although this guy is a martial artist, no matter how powerful he is, can he be more powerful than a gun? I'll bring a few brothers with me now and take a gun. When the time comes, we'll teach him a lesson." China's gun control was very strict. Only a small number of people had guns. The Sun family was obviously part of this small number of people. However, they rarely used them and would only take them out under special circumstances. Sun Shanshan hesitated for a moment and looked at her deformed chest. She thought of Qin Haodong's 24-hour warning and finally made a decision. "Well, you take some people there now. You must be careful and fast. No matter what, you must get that bottle of red pills back for me. Don't worry, Mississippi. I will definitely make that kid kneel in front of you and give you the pills with both hands." Sun Wei had been beaten up like this, so he hated Qin Haodong to the bone. After getting Sun Shanshan's consent, he immediately gathered people and took guns to find Qin Haodong for revenge. After Qin Haodong taught Sun Shanshan a lesson, he went to the crime squad of the East City District. He found the captain's office and pushed the door open. Nailin Wuxia was sitting at her desk, busy with something. When she saw someone come in without knocking, she frowned slightly. When she looked up and saw Qin Haodong, she immediately cried out in surprise, "Why is it you? Why can't it be me?" Qin Haodong said as he walked in front of her. "It's been so many days and you haven't come to see me. Why are you here today? Did you find your conscience?" "My conscience has always been there." Qin Haodong took her hand and said with a smile, "I'm here today to see a beauty, and I'm here to take shelter. I made a mistake again. I apologize to everyone. The mistake has been corrected. I'll add a chapter today as compensation. Chapter 511. Why did you come here to avoid trouble? Nalan Wuxia glared at him and asked, did you mess with other girls again and come to me? Qin Haodong said with a wronged expression, am I that kind of person? Nalan Wuxia said without hesitation, yes. Qin Haodong was about to retort, but after thinking about it carefully, he realized that he had really provoked Sun Chanshan, the evil woman, and then came here. Well, you're right. I'm here because I've provoked a woman. Nalan Wuxia said discontentedly, You already have so many women but you still go out and provoke. Qin Haodong quickly explained, don't worry, this provocation is different from what you think. He took Nalan Wuxia's hand and sat down. Then he talked about how he had gone to Shanghai to treat Zhou Xinzhu and how he had just taught Sun Chanshan's men a lesson. In the end, Nalan Wuxia was already convulsing with laughter. You're too mean. My good chest has been ruined by you. She couldn't help but laugh again when she thought of the woman named Sun Chanshan. Qin Haodong said, she took the medicine and took it herself. How can you blame me if something happens to her? Nalan Wuxia laughed enough and said, is the breast enhancement and body shaping elixir really so magical? Eating it can make a woman grow up? Of course, how could the pills I refine be fake? Nalan Wuxia pinched the soft part of his waist. Meat said fiercely, how come I didn't know you had such a good thing? Let go, it hurts. Qin Haodong said quickly, this thing is effective, but not everyone can use it. Nalan Wuxia let go of him and said, why? Does your elixir need to be picky? Medicinal pills are not picky, but your figure is already so good, it's simply perfect. If it were any bigger, not only would it be out of proportion but it would also affect your temperament. You wouldn't look as pretty as you do now. Every woman liked to listen to compliments, especially when it came from their lover. Nalan Wuxia glanced at her towering chest and said happily, are you serious? You couldn't have lied to me because you couldn't bear to part with the medicinal pills, right? Qin Haodong said, of course it's true. I don't have anything else but I have plenty of elixirs. If you want, you can eat them as food. You can even eat like a cow. But don't blame me if you're too ugly. You're so annoying. You're the cow. Nalan Wuxia glared at him charmingly and gave up the idea of taking the breast enhancement and body shaping elixir. She said again, what do you want to do? I really won't give the pill to Sun Chanshan. If a woman becomes like that, it's really sad. How can I face others? Qin Haodong said, don't worry. She will definitely give me that building in the end. I've asked around, and the value of that building is about 500 million yuan. These 3 bottles of breast enhancement and body shaping elixir are priceless treasures, and she has gotten a great bargain. Forget it, let's not talk about that. Nalan Wuxia took Qin Haodong's arm and said, tell me, what is our relationship? Am I your woman or not? Qin Haodong sighed. Nalan Wuxia was deeply in love with him. She came to Shanghai for him. How could he refuse? Of course, as long as you're not afraid of being wronged. You have a conscience. Nalan Wuxia put her arms around his neck and kissed him gently on the lips. Then she said faintly, I don't know what I did in my previous life to fall in love with a man like you in this life. Qin Haodong said, it's not that you did bad things. It's that I've done too many good things. That's why God gave me such a good woman like you. The two of them were kissing in the office. Outside the crime squad, Sun Wei, who looked like Sakyamune, was running around anxiously. Now that it was confirmed that Qin Haodong had entered the crime squad, he was helpless. He couldn't rush into the crime squad with a gun and kidnap Qin Haodong, could he? Even the Sun family couldn't afford the consequences. At that time, the old man of the Sun family would cut off his head and kick it like a ball. Now the only thing he could do was wait outside, wait for Qin Haodong to come out and then make a move. However, after waiting for 2 hours, there was still no movement. Bastard, what the hell is this kid doing inside? Sun Wei cursed in annoyance. At this time the cell phone in his pocket rang. How is it? Did you catch him? Sun Chanshan's anxious voice came from the other side of the phone. Sun Wei could wait, but she couldn't. No one could remain calm when looking at their deformed breasts all the time. Moreover, Qin Haodong's warning was constantly ringing in her ears. Once it exceeded 24 hours, it would be incurable. If she had such a chest for the rest of her life, she really wouldn't be able to live. Not yet. As soon as Sun Wei said these 3 words, Sun Chanshan, who was on the other side, flew into a rage and scolded, Are you King useless? You brought so many people and so many guns, but you can't even catch a single person. What are you doing? Sun Wei said with a bitter face, Second miss, that kid ran into the crime squad and hasn't come out yet. I can't do anything about it. I can't rush into the crime squad to catch him. Sun Chanshan didn't say anything. She really had no solution to this situation. Sun Wei breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Second miss, I suspect that this kid did it on purpose." "Do you still need to suspect it?" "It's obvious that he did it on purpose. He's just stalling for time." Sun Chanshan vented the anger in her heart again. After hanging up the phone, she knew that this was useless. She had to find a way to get the pill as soon as possible. After hesitating for a moment, she dialed Qin Haodong's cell phone again. Qin Haodong was being intimate with Nalan Wuxia. When he heard the ringtone of his cell phone, he frowned with dissatisfaction, but he still pressed the answer button. "Miss Sun, have you thought about it? You don't have much time left." "Qin Haodong, find a place. I'll sign an agreement with you." Sun Chanshan was going to use the same trick again and ask Qin Haodong to come out from the crime squad. As long as there was no police protection, Sun Wei would be able to make a move. "Miss Sun, I'm sorry. There's only one chance. You've already missed it. I don't want to sign any agreement with you now." Sun Chanshan was shocked and quickly asked, "What do you want? You don't want that building anymore?" "Of course I want the building, but I don't have time to sign any bullshit agreement with you." Qin Haodong said, "Send the transfer procedures for that building to me before you get off work, and then I'll give you the medicine. Remember, don't lie to me with a fake one. I can find it." "You." Sun Chanshan didn't expect Qin Haodong to directly ask her for the property certificate, which made all the methods she had thought of useless. Qin Haodong continued, "Miss Sun, I advise you to hurry up. It's not a small matter to get the property certificate. If you go now, it'll be good if you can get it done before you get off work. Once you miss it, you'll regret it for the rest of your life." Sun Chanshan still didn't want to give up. She said, "But the transfer of the property requires both parties to be present. What can I do if you don't come?" Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Others can't, but your Sun family can. If you really can't do it, there's nothing I can do." Seeing that Qin Haodong wouldn't be fooled no matter what, Sun Chanshan roared crazily, "Qin Haodong, don't go too far. I'm the second miss of the Sun family. Please, big sister. Even if you want to threaten me, you have to change it to something new, okay? Let's put it this way. When you get the property certificate, call me and I'll give you the medicine. Also, I'm informing you that I won't go out before the crime squad gets off work. Don't have any bad ideas." After that, he hung up the phone. Nalan Wuxia reached out and pinched his cheek. She said with a smile, "You're really bad. You're threatening me like this." Qin Haodong said, "This is called giving her a taste of her own medicine. She wants to steal my medicine, so I'll steal her building. Evil people need to be tortured by evil people." After hanging up the phone, Sun Chanshan grabbed the red wine bottle in front of her and smashed it on the ground. After venting her anger crazily, she found that there was no other way but to agree to Qin Haodong's request. She picked up her cell phone and dialed Sun Wei's number. "Don't stay there. Come back quickly." Sun Wei was very fast. 10 minutes later, he returned to Sun Chanshan's room. "Second miss, what do you need me to do?" Sun Chanshan took out a stack of property certificates and said, "Go to the real estate company now and transfer the property rights of that house to Qin Haodong's name." Sun Wei said in surprise, "Second miss, are you really going to give it to that guy? How can that be?" Before he could finish speaking, the furious Sun Chanshan roared again, "Do you think I don't know whether it can be done or not? Don't talk nonsense. Just do it when I tell you to." She slammed the property certificate in her hand on Sun Wei's Sakyamuni head. "Hurry up. If you can't get the property certificate by the end of the day, I'll cut off your head. Go. I'll go right now." Sun Wei picked up the property certificate and ran out of the room in a panic. It was no wonder that Sun Chanshan was anxious. Time passed by. What she needed to do now was to get the red breast enhancement and body shaping elixir as soon as possible. She could only transfer the property to Qin Haodong first. Other things could be discussed later. Qin Haodong and Nalan Wuxia happily stayed together. They had lunch together at noon. When it was almost time to get off work, his cell phone rang. "Qin Haodong, the property certificate has been completed. I'll ask Sun Wei to send it to the crime squad now. Don't go back on your word." On the other side of the phone, Sun Chanshan said in a hoarse voice, "Don't worry. I always keep my word. I'll give you the medicine immediately after I get the property certificate." Qin Haodong hung up the phone and asked Ma Wenjue to send someone to check the property registration information to make sure that the house was under his name. Not long after, Sun Wei appeared in front of the crime squad. Qin Haodong took the property certificate and checked it. There was no problem. He threw the small jade bottle in his hand to him and said with a smile, "This head shape is not bad. It suits you. Sun Wei took the small jade bottle and glared at Qin Haodong. Then he hurriedly got into the car and sent the medicine to Sun Qianqian. Nalan Wuxia appeared next to Qin Haodong and said, "Although you got the house, I'm afraid the Sun family won't let it go." Qin Haodong put away the property certificate and said with a smile, "It doesn't matter. The house is in my hands. It doesn't matter what they do." In the Sun family, Sun Wei rushed into Sun Qianqian's room. "Second miss, I've brought the medicine." "Where is it?" "Give it to me quickly." Sun Qianqian couldn't wait to take the small jade bottle. She opened the cork and saw 3 red breast enhancement and body-shaping pills inside. Sun Wei said, "Second miss, do you think that guy will lie to us with fake medicine?" Sun Qianqian stared at him and said, "What should we do? Why don't you try one first?" Sun Wei was so scared that his whole body trembled. He shuddered at the thought of putting Sun Qianqian's deformed chest on his body. He quickly said, "Second miss, I was just saying casually. I don't think that guy has any reason to lie to us. Since he got the house, he will definitely give us the real medicine. I apologize for the mistake in the previous chapter. The main website of Zongheng has been modified, but the data on the channel website may not be accurate. You can go to Zongheng to have a look." Chapter 512. Sun Qianqian coldly snorted and poured the 3 pills in her hand into her mouth. She also thought that Qin Haodong had no need to make fake medicine. The most important thing was that he had no other choice. After 4 or 5 hours, Sun Qianqian walked out of her room when it was close to 9 p.m. At this time his left chest had also swelled up, reaching the size of his right chest, like 2 huge balloons hanging in front of his chest. Sun Wei waited at the door. When he saw her come out, he immediately went up to her and said flatteringly, "Second missy, are you really cured?" Finally, he looked at Sun Qianqian's figure and exclaimed, "Second miss, your figure is too good. Even the world's top models can't compare to you." That was what he said, but that was not what he thought. In fact, Sun Qianqian's height was barely 160 meters. In the past her B cup looked quite coordinated. Now it had suddenly become an E cup. Her large breasts and buttocks made her seem out of proportion. She looked extremely awkward and did not have any beauty to speak of. However, Sun Qianqian was not interested in this kind of thing. Flattery was very effective, and he said proudly, "Right, I also think my figure is not bad." Sun Wei flattered again, "I told you that brat wouldn't dare to lie to you. You are the second daughter of the Sun family." After saying that, Sun Qianqian's expression immediately turned cold. "The medicine is real, but the commercial building is also under that brat's name. We must find a way to get it back. Furthermore, this brat played me like this. I must make him pay the price." "Of course, our Sun family isn't something that anyone can provoke," Sun Wei said. "Second missy, what do you think we should do? Do you want me to bring some people to kill him?" "Qin Haodong must die, but before that, you must take back the house." Sun Qianqian asked, "Do you know where that guy is now?" Sun Wei quickly said, "I know. I've sent someone to keep an eye on him. He's having dinner with Nalan Wuxia of the crime squad in Dongqing district." "You did a good job. Call your men and bring the weapons. We're going to find him now." Sun Wei said, "Second miss, that kid is with the captain of the entire criminal police team. Isn't it inappropriate for us to take action now?" Sun Qianqian said, "Are you a pig brain? I won't wait for them to split up before I make my move." Qin Haodong spent the whole night with Nalan Wuxia. After they had dinner together, he sent her back to the crime squad dormitory. Nalan Wuxia kissed him on the cheek and said, "Be careful when you go back. I guess the Sun family will make trouble for you." Qin Haodong smiled and said, "It doesn't matter. I'm not afraid of trouble." He had long sensed that someone was following him. He knew that Sun Qianqian would not let it go, so he did not take a taxi after he went out. Instead, he walked slowly along the street alone. Sure enough, as soon as they arrived at a secluded place, 7 or 8 SUVs drove over quickly. Sun Qianqian appeared with her people. The car door opened and Sun Wei rushed over with a gun in his hand and a group of people. He pointed the gun at Qin Haodong and shouted arrogantly, "Boy, you've offended the Sun family. Let's see where you can run to." Qin Haodong didn't panic at all. He smiled at him and said, "Which eye of yours saw me running away? Aren't we waiting for you?" Sun Wei was so angry that his eyes were burning, but he had nothing to say. Qin Haodong really didn't show any signs of running away. Sun Qianqian pushed him aside and said to Qin Haodong, "Qin, do you know why I'm looking for you? It seems that the medicine is effective." Qin Haodong glanced at her chest and said, "Of course I know. You must also know that such a big chest is not suitable for you, so you want me to make it smaller. With all due respect, I have a way to make it bigger, but I can't do anything to make it smaller. Sun Shanshan said angrily, I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about the commercial building opposite Shui's jewelry. You're talking about that building? Qin Haodong said, that building is good, but it's mine now. Sun Shanshan cried, I gave it to you? Yes, you said you gave it to me, so it's mine. What's the problem? Don't play dumb with me. Hand it over or I'll throw you into the river to feed the fish. Qin Haodong said, that's not right. How can you take back what you gave me? Where's your integrity? Sun Shanshan was so angry that she almost fainted. She took 2 steps forward, stared at Qin Haodong fiercely and said, just tell me, are you going to give it to me or not? Qin Haodong said matter-of-factly, of course not. This is my building. Why should I give it to you? Pretty boy, you won't give up until you see the coffin. Sun Shanshan waved her hand behind her and said, shoot him. Break his legs first. Before she could finish speaking, she suddenly felt like a rooster that had been strangled and could not make a sound. She did not know when Qin Haodong had come behind her. He grabbed her neck and used her as a shield. He said to Sun Wei and the others, put down your guns or I'll break her neck. Sun Wei was shocked. He did not expect Qin Haodong to be so decisive. He was obviously here for revenge, but in the blink of an eye, Sun Shanshan had become a hostage. Qin Haodong, don't mess around or I'll kill you with one shot. Sun Wei, who did not give up, still wanted to threaten him, but he found that Sun Shanshan's eyes had rolled up and her legs were kicking. She was about to be strangled to death. Sun Shanshan was the 3rd generation of the Sun family. If she was really strangled to death because of him, no one present would live. Thinking of this, Sun Wei threw the gun on the ground as if it was burning his hand. He quickly shouted, did you hear that? Put down your guns. Put them down. There were more than 20 bodyguards, but only 4 of them had guns in their hands. After hearing Sun Wei's order, they threw the guns at their feet one after another. Only then did Qin Haodong loosen his right hand. Fresh air rushed into Sun Shanshan's throat. She coughed first and then took big breaths. She felt her legs go weak. If she had not leaned on Qin Haodong, she would not have been able to stand at all. At that moment she really felt the feeling of death. Qin Haodong did not let go of her completely. He shouted to those people, throw the guns over. The bodyguards hesitated for a moment. Sun Shanshan, who had just recovered, immediately shouted angrily, I told you to throw them over. Didn't you hear me? Do you want to get me killed? She now hated these bodyguards to death. More than 20 people could not stop Qin Haodong and made her a hostage. She had almost been strangled to death just now. Hearing their master's order, the bodyguards kicked the pistols on the ground to Qin Haodong, including Sun Wei's. That's right. If you have something to say, just say it. Why use knives and guns? Qin Haodong said as he let go of Sun Shanshan. As soon as he let go, Sun Wei immediately pulled Sun Shanshan over. Then he took out a pistol from his waist and pointed it at Qin Haodong's face. He shouted proudly, boy, you didn't expect me to have 2 guns, did you? Hurry up and kneel or I will blow your head off immediately. He was proud of his cleverness when he suddenly felt his hand lighten. The pistol was already in Qin Haodong's hand. Then the handle of the gun fell on his head like raindrops. There was a big bump on Sun Wei's head. After taking medicine, the swelling had just subsided a little. Now he was hit by the handle of the gun again. After that, Qin Haodong shook his hand gently and the pistol turned into spare parts on the ground. Then he raised his hand and gently twisted Sun Wei's neck. There was a crisp sound. Sun Wei was so scared that he almost peed his pants. He thought that he was completely finished and that his neck had been broken. However, he soon realized that he was not dead and did not feel any pain. However, he soon discovered that the scene in front of him had tilted at a 45-degree angle. It turned out that it was not the scene that was tilted, but he had become a crooked neck. He could not correct it no matter what. Qin Haodong clapped his hands and said to Sun Shanshan, who was stunned, okay, now we can have a good talk. Sun Shanshan swallowed and said nervously, there's no need to talk. I don't want that building anymore. She had already seen the situation in front of her. She could not get the building back even if she wanted it. Qin Haodong was really more powerful than they had imagined. That building was originally mine. There's nothing to talk about. Qin Haodong came in front of Sun Shanshan and said with a smile, that's not what I want to talk to you about. Then what do you want to talk about? Sun Shanshan had a bad feeling and became more and more nervous. Qin Haodong said, we are both reasonable people. There is an old saying in Wuxia that goes, you can do it twice but you can't do it thrice. If I remember correctly, this is the third time you have come to make trouble for me. You should at least give me some compensation. Sun Qianqian cursed in her heart. You took away that building worth 500 million yuan and didn't give me a penny. What compensation do you want? Although she thought this, she did not dare to say it out loud. She asked, what compensation do you want? Qin Haodong took the folder in her hand, pointed to the agreement inside and said, you are going to sign an agreement, right? Then let's sign one. Give me your car as compensation for tonight. As he spoke, he pointed to a Mercedes-Benz SUV next to him. After arriving in Shanghai, he did not have a car, which was very inconvenient. This was the new Mercedes-Benz G-Class SUV that Sun Qianqian had bought. It looked pretty good. Sun Qianqian had the urge to vomit blood. She had indeed brought the agreement, but she wanted Qin Haodong to sign it and transfer the commercial building back to her. She did not expect that it would become an agreement for her to give up her car. She had always liked SUVs and she had just bought this car for 3 million yuan. She had not even driven it for 3 days. She was really reluctant to give it up just like that. Looking at Sun Qianqian's pained face, Qin Haodong said, I have always been a reasonable person. If you don't want to give it up, that's fine. Do you see him? I will make your neck look like that. As he spoke, he pointed to Sun Wei, whose neck was tilted like Shingongbao. You must know my medical skills. As long as I don't do anything, no one can correct it. Even the World Medical Association will say that it is congenital. No one can do anything about it. How about it? If you are satisfied with this shape, I don't want this car. Sun Qianqian looked at Sun Wei, whose neck was tilted at a 45-degree angle. This shape was much uglier than her deformed chest. Sun Qianqian quickly said, I'll give it to you. Isn't it just a car? Now this car is yours. After that, she took the agreement and quickly wrote a car transfer agreement. The general meaning was that the car would be transferred to Qin Haodong for free. Sun Qianqian's name was signed at the bottom. Qin Haodong looked at the agreement and said, it's pretty good. I hope we can have another chance to cooperate in the future. Goodbye. After that, he walked toward the Mercedes-Benz SUV. As he passed by, he stepped on the pistols. He walked to the front of the car, opened the door and got in. Sun Wei did not give up. He rushed over to pick up a pistol, but was surprised to find that the gun in his hand had become a discus. Chapter 513. Seeing the crushed pistol, everyone was shocked. They looked at the disappearing taillights of the Mercedes-Benz with fear. Sun Wei said in a dry voice, an inner strength master. I didn't expect him to be an inner strength master at such a young age. Among the 3 top families in Shanghai, the Sun family was famous for their martial arts and had many masters. However, even in such a family there were not many inner strength masters. Someone as young as Qin Haodong was even rarer. Since Qin Haodong had left, there was no need for them to stay. The group quickly returned to the Sun family. An hour later, Sun Wei, who had finished bandaging his head, appeared in Sun Qianqian's room again. At this time his neck was tilted. His head was bandaged like one of the Black Cat Sheriff's ears. It looked particularly funny. Sun Qianqian's face was livid. This time, not only did they not get the building back, but they had also lost a Mercedes-Benz. They had suffered a double loss. Sun Wei gritted his teeth and said, Second miss, we must take revenge. Sun Qianqian said, I also want to take revenge, but tell me, what should I do? Thinking of how terrifying Qin Haodong was, Sun Wei felt a sense of powerlessness. He said tentatively, Second miss, why don't we call the police? Call the police? Is your brain damaged? Sun Qianqian raised her hand and slapped Sun Wei's head, ignoring his injury. If we call the police, what will we sue him for? We robbed him with a gun. Is he going to sue us or him? We can still think of a way to deal with this matter now. Once the old man finds out, we will be completely finished. Got it, miss? Sun Wei covered his head and grimaced in pain. Suddenly, he had an idea and said, Miss, I have an idea. What bad idea do you have this time? Sun Qianqian looked at him and said, It's not a bad idea. This time it's definitely a good idea. Sun Wei said, Second miss, think about it. Qin Haodong used pills to force you to hand over the building. Can we also force him to hand it back? Sun Qianqian said angrily, You useless people were beaten like dogs with guns just now. How can we force him? Second miss, we underestimated that guy this time. I didn't expect him to be an inner strength martial artist. But it didn't matter. Although he was powerful, he still had his family and friends, right? We can capture his family and friends and then we'll have hostages in our hands. Let's see if he can still do anything then. In the end, we can do whatever we want with it. Sun Qianqian thought about it. This seemed to be a good idea. All right then, I'll leave this matter to you. If you do well, you will be rewarded handsomely. If you don't, then get out of the Sun family. Don't worry, Second Mississippi. I'll do it right away. I'll go and find out more about that kid first. After saying that, Sun Wei crooked her neck and walked out of the room. After Qin Haodong drove away, he went straight to the airport. The plane of Lin Momo and the little fellow was about to arrive. Thinking that he was about to see his woman and daughter, he was so excited that he could not help but drive a little faster. At the exit of the airport, Lin Momo and Tang Tang walked out with the crowd. The combination of a good-looking mother and a beautiful Lolita daughter was particularly conspicuous in the crowd. Qin Haodong saw the mother and daughter at a glance. The little fellow also saw Qin Haodong, who was picking up the plane. She immediately jumped out of Lin Momo's arms and rushed into Qin Haodong's arms. Then she kissed him on the cheek. The little fellow tightly hugged his neck and said, "Papa, I haven't seen you for so many days. I missed you so much." "Papa missed you too," Qin Haodong said as he kissed the little fellow on the cheek several times. At this time Lin Momo also came out. He stepped forward and held Lin Momo in his arms. Without saying a word, he kissed her. Although she had missed Qin Haodong a lot these days, Lin Momo was still shy. She gently pushed him away and said coquettishly, "What are you doing? Tang Tang is still here." "I didn't see anything." As the little fellow spoke, she used her two chubby little hands to cover her eyes. Her big eyes peeked through the gaps between her fingers as she giggled. "Look at how sensible our daughter is." Qin Haodong kissed Lin Momo on the cheek again. Then the family of three left the airport. After getting in the car, Qin Haodong threw the property certificate of the commercial building to Lin Momo. "This will be the new headquarters of Lin's group in Shanghai from now on." Lin Momo looked at the property certificate and said in surprise, "You got it so soon?" "Of course, or I wouldn't be able to see you and Tang Tang." Qin Haodong said, "We already have a house. When will your team come?" "It will take at least 2 or 3 days. It's not so easy to move a big group. There are a lot of things to prepare." Qin Haodong nodded. He was not good at these things, so he left it to Lin Momo. Soon they arrived home. Because they often talked on the phone before, Lin Momo was very familiar with his situation. She was not too surprised to know that there was a house here. After going upstairs, the 4 girls still did not sleep. They sat in the living room and watched TV together. After hearing the footsteps, they looked over together. When they saw Lin Momo and the little fellow entering the door with Qin Haodong, their expressions were different. Li Meiyu and Jia Shirhan were shocked and surprised. They did not expect that Qin Haodong would come back so late and bring back 2 beautiful women. Nailin Wushuang and Qi Wan were surprised and exclaimed, "Sister Lin, Tang Tang, you are here. Second Mom, Auntie Wan, you are here too." The little fellow was also very surprised. She ran over and threw herself into Nailin Wushuang's arms. "Tang Tang, how did you get here?" Nailin Wushuang kissed her little face and asked, "It was Papa who brought me and Mama here." The little fellow pointed to Qin Haodong and said. Li Meiyu's face changed instantly when she heard Tang Tang call Qin Haodong Papa and Lin Momo Mama. During this time, her feelings for Qin Haodong were changing every day. Although she was unwilling to admit it, she felt more and more inseparable from this man. But at this time, a little girl suddenly ran out and called him Papa. What was going on? And the beautiful woman next to her, who was she? Was she Qin Haodong's wife? How was that possible? She pulled Qin Haodong to the side and asked angrily, "Tell me what's going on? Aren't you just a freshman? Why do you have a daughter?" "Don't worry, listen to my explanation." Qin Haodong also had a headache. If he had known this would happen, he would not have pursued this girl. Now he was in trouble. However, he was also afraid that if he really angered Li Meiyu, she would move out of his house. At that time, he would have to send someone to guard her 24 hours a day. Before the bodyguard mission was terminated in Hong Kong, he could only continue the lie as much as possible. He said, "Here's the thing. Tang Tang is my goddaughter. Otherwise, how could I have such an old daughter at my age?" Hearing that she was his goddaughter, Li Meiyu's expression eased a lot, but she still felt that something was wrong. She asked again, "Who is this woman? Did you know Sister Wushuang and Wan before? Why do they look so familiar?" Qin Haodong said, "This is Tang Tang's mother, Sister Momo. Our 2 families used to live together. We were neighbors and had a very good relationship. This time she came to Shanghai to open a company, so she temporarily lived with me. Sister Wushuang is Tang Tang's godmother, so they must know each other. Wan and Sister Wushuang have such a good relationship, so it's normal for them to be familiar with each other." "So you also knew Sister Wushuang and Wan before?" Why didn't you tell me? I'm not very familiar with them, and I was afraid that you would think too much, so I didn't tell you. Qin Haodong lied one after another, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Fortunately, this explanation barely made sense. Li Meiyu said, well, you pass. Don't hide anything from me in the future. Got it, madam. Qin Haodong breathed a sigh of relief. This time he finally fooled her. Now he hoped that the old man in Hong Kong would take his granddaughter back as soon as possible and end this bodyguard mission. The salary of 1 million a day was indeed a lot, but it was too tiring. After breakfast the next day, Qin Haodong and Li Meiyu went to school together. Lin Momo took the little fellow to deal with other matters of the temporary group's relocation. Jia Shihan was very fond of the little fellow. It just so happened that she had nothing to do, so she went with them. After arriving at the classroom, Ji Fubao and Tian Buguang immediately surrounded Qin Haodong when they saw him. Ji Fubao said, Boss, it's only the first day of school but you already skipped class. What did you do? Tian Buguang said with a sinister smile, Did you go on a date with a beautiful woman? Ji Fubao said, Nonsense. There are so many beautiful women in our class. Aren't they enough for you? How could you go on a date? Tian Buguang said, You won't understand even if I tell you. How can a single dog like you know that the red flag at home doesn't fall? Alright, shut up you two. Qin Haodong didn't want to talk too much about his own affairs. Seeing that Su Hui's seat was still empty, he changed the topic and said, Why hasn't Su Hui come today? Ji Fubao said, Who knows? You skipped class yesterday as the class monitor. Today, it's the deputy class monitor's turn to skip class. Tian Buguang said with a smile, Fortunately, you didn't skip class together. Otherwise people would really think that you two went on a date. It would hurt the hearts of many single dogs. Soon the bell rang. Su Hui still hadn't come. It seemed that she had indeed skipped class today. After a day of class, Qin Haodong was drowsy most of the time. With his current level of medical skills, no one could be his teacher in the field of traditional Chinese medicine. Su Hui hadn't come to class for a day. It seemed that something must have happened to her. After class, Qin Haodong was about to go out when he received a call from Su Hui. After pressing the answer button, he said, Su Hui, why didn't you come to class today? My grandfather is sick. Su Hui said in a low voice, Grandpa has a fever of 39 degrees. It has been burning for a day and a night. I've tried all kinds of methods but it hasn't gone down. Can you come and take a look at him? Qin Haodong said, How could it be so serious? Even old Master Su can't do anything about it? Su Hui said, My grandfather has also seen it. He originally thought it was just an ordinary cold, but it didn't work after taking 2 doses of medicine in a row. Later he was sent to the affiliated hospital of the Shanghai Medical College. The doctor diagnosed it as a cold. He used the antipyretics of Western medicine, but it still didn't work at all. I'll go and have a look. Qin Haodong said, Tell me the location of the old master's ward. Su Hui said, Thank you. I'll wait for you at the entrance of the inpatient department of the Shanghai Medical College. Qin Haodong said goodbye to Nailan Wushuang and the others, and then rushed to the inpatient department of the Shanghai Medical College. The inpatient department was only separated from the medical college by a wall. Soon he saw Su Hui waiting in front of the door. Su Hui was wearing a white dress. From a distance she looked like a blooming lily, elegant and beautiful. However, she looked a little haggard today. Her brows were slightly furrowed, and there was a trace of sadness that could not be dispelled. Chapter 5:14. After seeing Qin Haodong, Su Hui's heart flashed with excitement. She stepped forward and said, Brother Haodong, I'm really sorry to have caused you trouble. I had no choice. Grandpa's high fever didn't subside and other doctors couldn't cure him, so I could only invite you here. Su Hui was completely convinced by Qin Haodong's magical medical skills to cure Mrs. Zhang. In addition, during this period of time she learned the 9 magical needles of plum blossom. The more she learned about it, the more she felt that his medical skills were unfathomable. Now Qin Haodong had a high position in Su Hui's heart, even higher than her grandfather, Su Hongba. It doesn't matter. We're classmates. There's no need to be so polite. Then Qin Haodong followed Su Hui to the building of the inpatient department. As they walked he asked, How did the old man fall ill? My grandfather is Lu Qigong, a professor in the Department of Archaeology at Shanghai University. A very important ancient tomb was unearthed in Wuxia a few days ago. Because my grandfather is very successful in archaeology, he was appointed to lead the team to investigate. My grandfather was also very interested in this ancient tomb, so he set up an archaeological team, but I didn't expect that he would fall ill on the first day they entered the ancient tomb. After he came back, he continued to have a fever until now. In the intensive care unit of Shanghai Medical College, a thin old man was lying on the bed, with a strange blush on his livid face. He was Su Hui's grandfather, Lu Qigong. Due to the continuous high fever, he had fallen into a coma. Su Hui's grandfather, Su Hongba, was sitting at the head of the bed, with his right hand on Lu Qigong's pulse. He frowned as if he was looking for the cause of the disease. Behind the old man stood a young man in his 20s, wearing gold-rimmed glasses and frowning. He was Lu Qigong's student, Zhang Jingsong. He had been by the old man's side these days. At this moment, the door opened and a middle-aged doctor in his 50s came in, followed by 7 or 8 doctors in white coats. Next to the middle-aged doctor, a young doctor in his 30s was introducing the patient's condition. Professor Zhao, this case is very special. He has been having a high fever for more than 24 hours. At first, we thought it was just a cold, but after a blood test, there were no viruses or bacteria. We ruled out the possibility of a cold causing a high fever, but we couldn't find other causes. We're already at our wits' end, so we can only trouble you to take action. The middle-aged doctor was called Zhao Qingzhong. He was a famous internal medicine expert at Shanghai Medical College. If Su Hongba was the leader of the Chinese medicine department, then Zhao Qingzhong was the authority of Western medicine. After listening to the introduction, Zhao Qingzhong only snorted softly and did not say anything. However, his face was filled with arrogance. It seemed that he did not take it to heart. Another young doctor next to him said, "Dr. Wang, don't worry. With my teacher's help, any disease will be cured." As they spoke, the group entered the ward. Zhao Qingzhong raised his head and suddenly saw Elder Su sitting at the head of the bed. He frowned and said, "Su Hongba, why are you here?" Then he turned to look at the young doctor next to him and said angrily, "What's wrong with you? This is a Western medicine hospital, a temple of science. Why did they invite a Chinese medicine doctor? Since you found him, why did you invite me over?" He was the authority of Western medicine, and Elder Su Hongba was an expert of Chinese medicine. The two of them were the representatives of Chinese medicine and Western medicine in Shanghai Medical College respectively. Just yesterday, Zhao Qingzhong had suggested to the director that the Chinese medicine department should be abolished. Su Hongba had a big fight with him because of this. The two of them had a fierce debate. Because of this, he immediately flew into a rage when he saw Su Hongba in the ward. After that, he turned his head and was about to leave. The young doctor quickly explained, "Professor Zhao, don't be angry. The patient is Mr. Su's relative. Mr. Su is not a doctor now but a family member of the patient. Please don't misunderstand." Hearing the young doctor's explanation, Zhao Qingzhong's heart skipped a beat, and then a sneer flashed across his face. He turned his head, looked at Su Hongba and said, "Old man, since you said that Chinese medicine is so powerful, why don't you use your medical skills to treat your relative? Why did you send him to our ward?" Su Hongba's beard twitched and he couldn't find a suitable excuse for a while. From the bottom of his heart, he didn't want to send Lu Qigong here, but he couldn't find the cause of the disease in a short time, and Lu Qigong had a high fever. Under the strong request of Su Hui's parents, he could only send Lu Qigong here first. But he didn't expect to meet his old enemy, Zhao Qingzhong here. Seeing that Su Hongba didn't speak, Zhao Qingzhong immediately laughed. "Old man Su, if I'm not wrong, it's because you can't cure your relative's illness, so you sent him here, right?" After that, he laughed again and then said sarcastically, "In the debate yesterday, didn't you say that Chinese medicine is a treasure left by our ancestors and the crystallization of thousands of years of Wuxia culture? You also said that Chinese medicine can cure the root cause and Western medicine can only cure the symptoms? Now even your relative can't cure him. Tell me, what's the use of this treasure? What's the use of this crystal? Now you can't even cure a fever. How can you Chinese medicine cure the root cause?" Su Hongba was so angry that his face turned livid. He said angrily, "I admit that I haven't found the cause of my relative's illness yet. But it's not that Chinese medicine is not good, but that I'm not good at it. It has nothing to do with Chinese medicine." "Old man Su, at this time you're still so stubborn," Zhao Qingzhong said. "In that case, you can continue to find Chinese medicine practitioners to treat your relative. When you're convinced, when you say that Chinese medicine practitioners are liars and that Chinese medicine is not as good as Western medicine, I'll come back to treat your relative." Su Hongba didn't expect that this guy was so narrow-minded that he even threatened him with his relative's life. He immediately said angrily, Zhao Qingzhong, are you still a doctor? Do you remember what a doctor's job is? Zhao Qingzhong sneered and said, Old man Su, it's useless to say anything else. When you're convinced, you can come back to me. At this time, Gao Jingsong, who was next to him, couldn't stand it anymore. He pointed at Zhao Qingzhong's nose and said, I don't know Chinese medicine or Western medicine. I only know that my teacher is sick now. As doctors, you should treat him instead of fighting with the patient's life here. If you do this, you don't deserve to be a doctor at all. Well said. He really doesn't deserve to be a doctor. While they were talking, a young man and a young woman came in. It was Qin Haodong and Su Hui. Seeing that a young man in his 20s dared to teach him a lesson, Zhao Qingzhong said coldly, Who are you? Do you know who I am? What right do you have to talk to me? Qin Haodong glanced at him and said, I'm a student of the medical college and also a Chinese medicine practitioner. I don't need to know who you are. I only know that you don't have the medical ethics of a doctor. Nonsense. How dare a student talk to Professor Zhao like this? You're really unruly. Do you know who Professor Zhao is? The students he taught are all qualified to be your teachers. Professor Zhao is a doctor who studied abroad in M country. He's a famous figure in the World Medical Association. If he doesn't deserve to be a doctor, who else can? The doctors behind Zhao Qingzhong started to attack Qin Haodong. Hearing all the flattery, Zhao Qingzhong said proudly, Did you hear that? A student like you who hasn't graduated yet is not qualified to talk to me at all. Qin Haodong glanced at him contemptuously and said, No matter how good your qualifications are, no matter how good your medical skills are, people like you who have no medical ethics are nothing in my eyes. You. Qin Haodong glanced at him contemptuously and said, No matter how good your qualifications are, no matter how good your medical skills are, people like you who have no medical ethics are nothing in my eyes. You. Zhao Qingzhong was so angry that his lungs almost exploded. With his medical skills and qualifications, no matter where he went, he was surrounded by people and flattered constantly. He had never been despised like this before. Humph. You ignorant boy, I don't want to talk to you. Zhao Qingzhong turned his head and continued to say to Su Hongba, I still say the same thing. If you want me to treat you, you have to bow your head and apologize to me. Otherwise, you can find a Chinese medicine practitioner who can cure this disease. Before Su Hongba could speak, Qin Haodong said, There's no need to find one. I can cure this disease. After he said that, all the people present were shocked, but except for Su Hui, they all sneered at him. Even Su Hongba, the leading Chinese medicine practitioner, couldn't cure the disease. How could a young Chinese medicine practitioner in his 20s, a student who hadn't graduated, say that he could cure it? Wasn't this a joke? Su Hongba pulled Su Hui and asked, Girl, who is this? Grandpa, this is Qin Haodong, the classmate I told you about. I learned the magic plum blossom acupuncture from him. Hearing Qin Haodong's name, Su Hongba's expression changed. Was it really that person? But if it was really him, how could he come to Shanghai Medical College as a freshman? If not, who else could have such amazing medical skills at such a young age except that person? He said, Young man, can you really cure this disease? Qin Haodong nodded and said, Don't worry, sir. I can definitely cure it. After that, he stepped to Lu Qigong's bedside. Seeing that he was going to treat Lu Qigong, the young doctor cried, Wait a minute, you're a Chinese medicine practitioner student. Don't you know where you are? If you cure the patient's problem, who will be responsible? I'll be responsible. Su Hongba was angry. He glared at him and said, Young man, you can do whatever you want. No matter what happens, I'll take responsibility. The young doctor cried, Mr. Su, that's what you said. Su Hongba cried, It's what I said. From now on, whatever problem Mr. Lu has, it has nothing to do with your hospital. Zhao Qingzhong laughed and said, Old man Su, are you old and muddled or are you out of your mind? Even such a young boy believes it. Is this the legendary saying that people who are ill will turn to any doctor they can find? I think you'd better give up. Now bow your head to me and admit that traditional Chinese medicine is not good. I'll treat your in-laws immediately. Qin Haodong frowned and said to him, Do you think I can't cure Mr. Lu's disease? Zhao Qingzhong said with disdain, Is there a need to say that? Anyone would be able to see it. Qin Haodong said, In that case, do you dare to make a bet with me? Zhao Qingzhong said arrogantly, You don't deserve to bet with me. I don't think you dare, do you? Qin Haodong glanced at him and said, Let's not bet on anything else. If I cure Mr. Lu's disease, you apologize to Mr. Su and traditional Chinese medicine practitioners. You'll call Mr. Su your teacher in the future. Zhao Qingzhong said, What a big bet. What if you lose? Qin Haodong said, if I lose, I'll quit traditional Chinese medicine and make a statement admitting that traditional Chinese medicine is not as good as Western medicine. You're just a nobody. Who will read your statement? Zhao Qingzhong's expression became more and more disdainful. It's not that I don't dare to bet with you, but I'm not satisfied with your bet at all. Qin Haodong stepped in front of him and whispered a few words. Zhao Qingzhong's expression changed. He looked at him and said, are you sure? Chapter 5:15. Qin Haodong said, of course. Zhao Qingzhong said without hesitation, well, I'll bet with you. Don't go back on your word. Seeing that he really agreed, the people around him were extremely surprised. Especially Su Hongba. He and Zhao Qingzhong were old rivals. He knew that this guy had always been proud and arrogant. He was afraid that he would not agree to bet with him. Why did he bet with Qin Haodong? What on earth did this young man say to him? Then it's a deal. Everyone is a witness. I'll start to treat Mr. Lu now. After Qin Haodong said that, he first took out a physique-improving pill and gave it to Lu Qigong. Then he took out silver needles from his pocket and started acupuncture. In fact, these two methods were basically to deceive people. Lu Qigong did not have a cold. When he just entered the door, he had already been sure that the old man had a cold in his body. That was why the old man had a fever for a long time and the medicine didn't work at all. It seemed that there was something with a strong evil spirit in the ancient temple. Otherwise, the old man would not have become so ill all of a sudden. The best way to deal with this kind of evil spirit was to use the yin-yang mirror. Because of this great artifact, he dared to make such a big bet with Zhao Qingzhong. After entering the gold core stage, Qin Haodong was able to control the size of the yin-yang mirror. At this time, he had turned the yin-yang mirror into the size of a coin and held it in his palm. He quietly absorbed the evil spirit in Lu Qigong's body. The people around gathered around and watched. Zhao Qingzhong and the doctors and masters behind him all pursed their lips. They didn't take Qin Haodong's means seriously at all. In their opinion, it was impossible for traditional Chinese medicine to cure the disease that even Western medicine couldn't cure. Zhou Hongba also frowned. Although he didn't know what medicine Qin Haodong gave Lu Qigong, he could still understand this set of acupuncture. Wasn't this the rejuvenating acupuncture technique that Su Hui mentioned when she came back? It was not the magic plum blossom acupuncture technique. It was completely an ordinary acupuncture technique for massaging the blood. If this kind of acupuncture technique worked, Lu Qigong would not have to be hospitalized here. Seeing this, he couldn't help but worry for Qin Haodong. If he really lost the bet, not only Qin Haodong would lose face, but also the entire traditional Chinese medicine. Only Su Hui looked calm and her eyes were full of confidence. She had absolute trust in Qin Haodong now. Since Qin Haodong dared to bet, he must be 100% sure. 10 minutes later, Qin Haodong put away the silver needles and patted Lu Qigong's chest again, activating his qi and blood with greenwood genuine qi. All right, old man, get up and go home for dinner. Are you kidding? If you can cure people like this, then our hospital will have no patients. Traditional Chinese medicine is indeed a scam. Who doesn't know how to use a pill to treat illnesses? What a disgrace. Young people really don't know their limits. They dare to accept any illness and dare to make any kind of bet. Look at this, they've made a fool of themselves. The people behind Zhao Qingzhong were holding back their strength, waiting for this moment to launch a group attack on Qin Haodong. Even Zhao Qingzhong's face flashed a touch of pride. He also thought that he had won this time. The so-called medical sage of Wuxia was just bragging. It turned out that Qin Haodong had just secretly told him his identity. It was because of the golden reputation of the medical sage of Wuxia that Zhao Qingzhong agreed to this bet. If he won, Qin Haodong would apologize to him on behalf of traditional Chinese medicine. It was undeniable that the golden reputation of the medical sage was still very influential. At that time he would become the most famous Western medicine in Wuxia. But at this moment, Lu Qigong, who was in a coma, suddenly opened his eyes and then suddenly sat up from the bed. What's going on? Why am I here? He glanced at Su Hui and said, "Girl, I'm so thirsty. Do you have water?" "Yes, it's all prepared for you." Seeing that her grandfather finally woke up, Su Hui was overjoyed and hurried back to get water. The people around were shocked. What was going on? The old man was in a coma just now. Why did he suddenly wake up now? Could it be that this young man really cured his illness? The young doctor calmed down and reached out to touch Lu Qigong's head. Lu Qigong glared at him and said discontentedly, "What are you doing?" "Mr. Lu, don't worry. I'm your attending doctor. I just want to see if you still have a fever." "No, I don't." I know my own body. It's all healed now. Then he took the cold water from Su Hui and drank a big cup in one breath. The young doctor first touched Lu Qigong's forehead, then touched his neck. He changed several places in succession, and all of them changed from burning hot to cold. There was no sign of fever at all. How is this possible? He was the attending doctor. He was very clear about Lu Qigong's condition. Lu Qigong had a high fever of more than 39 degrees. How could he recover so quickly? Su Hongba also reached out to feel Lu Qigong's pulse. The messy pulse was gone and completely recovered. Lu Qigong shook off his hand and said, "Well, old Su, there's no need to feel my pulse. I'm fine." Su Hui said, "Grandpa, you scared us this time. You had a high fever. Grandpa couldn't cure your illness, nor could the doctors in the hospital. In the end, my classmates saved you." "Are you talking about this young man?" Lu Qigong took Qin Haodong's hand and said, "Young man, thank you." "You're welcome, Grandpa. This is what a doctor should do." Lu Qigong was a very cheerful old man. At this time, his body had completely recovered. He took Qin Haodong's hand and said, "Young man, have you eaten yet? Come to my house for a drink." "Old man, I want to thank you." "Wait a minute, Grandpa. There's something I need to deal with." Then Qin Haodong turned his head and grabbed Zhao Qingzhong, who was about to slip away quietly. He pointed to Su Hongbo and said, "Call him teacher." Zhao Qingzhong almost choked to death by his own saliva. For so many years he had been at odds with Su Hongba. Now he was asked to bow his head and admit his mistake and call him teacher. He couldn't open his mouth no matter what. Qin Haodong said, "You don't want to call me teacher? Let me tell you, I've recorded the bet just now. If you deny it, I'll post it on the internet and let all the Wuxia people in the world see the face of a Western medicine expert." "No, please don't. I admit my defeat." Zhao Qingzhong finally chose to bow his head and bowed to Master Su. "Mr. Su, I was wrong in the past. I shouldn't have discredited traditional Chinese medicine. I apologize to you and to traditional Chinese medicine." It was a short sentence, but it was extremely difficult for him to say it. After that, he hurriedly ran out of the ward with his men. I didn't expect that I would see this guy bow his head and apologize in my life. Even if I die, I have no regrets. After Su Hongba sighed with emotion, he said to Qin Haodong, "Young man, if I'm not mistaken, you're Qin Haodong, the medical sage of Jiangnan, aren't you?" Qin Haodong was slightly stunned. "Grandpa, you can tell?" Then he was relieved. The medical sage was very famous in Jiangnan, but not many people in other provinces and cities knew him. Most of the people who could recognize him were the seniors in the field of traditional Chinese medicine. As a professor of traditional Chinese medicine at Shanghai Medical College, Old Master Su naturally paid close attention to the affairs of the field of traditional Chinese medicine. It was not surprising that he recognized him. Su Hongba said, "In fact, when Hui went home and told me that you could do the rejuvenating acupuncture, I guessed that you might be the medical sage. But I didn't expect that the medical sage would come to Shanghai Medical College to study. With your medical skills, who can teach you? Let alone let me be your teacher, you're more than enough to be my teacher." "You flatter me, Grandpa." Qin Haodong said politely, "I came to Shanghai Medical College this time because I have something else to do, so I didn't reveal my identity." Su Hongba said, "I know. You'll keep it a secret." Lu Qigong said, "Well, this is not the place to talk. Let's go to my house and talk while eating." Qin Haodong didn't stand on ceremony and left the hospital with the two old men. Su Hui followed the three of them. Seeing that the teacher was out of danger, Gao Jingsong didn't follow them anymore. He drove the four of them to Lu Qigong's house and left. Lu Qigong's house was on the first floor, and there was a small courtyard full of flowers and plants. After entering the door, an old lady in her 60s came out to greet them. She was Lu Qigong's wife, Zhu Chunmei. "Who is this young man? Is he Hui's boyfriend?" The old lady saw Qin Haodong at a glance. She stepped forward to take his hand and asked enthusiastically, "Young man, are you a local of Shanghai? What do your parents do? Where do you go to school?" It seemed that she was arranging a blind date for her granddaughter. Qin Haodong was also speechless. "It's not easy for you to survive. Shouldn't you care about his health? Why are you paying attention to me?" In fact, he misunderstood. Zhu Chunmei didn't know how serious the old man's illness was. She thought it was just a cold and he would be fine after going to the hospital for an injection. Su Hui didn't tell her about the high fever. In contrast, she was more concerned about her granddaughter's boyfriend. Su Hui finally couldn't calm down. She glanced at Qin Haodong and said with a red face, "Grandma, what are you talking about? He's just my classmate." Good classmate. We know each other well and we have the same level of education. In the future when we get married, we will have a common language. Anyway, the old lady recognized Qin Haodong as her grandson-in-law. After entering the door, Zhu Chunmei had already prepared the meal and the family sat down. After eating, Su Hongba asked, "Little Qin, I haven't had time to ask you yet. What's wrong with old Lu this time? How can it be so serious? And his pulse is in a mess. I can't see what the problem is at all." Qin Haodong said, "Mr. Su, Mr. Lu is not sick this time, but Yin Qi has entered his body so you can't see it from his pulse. If I'm not wrong, there must be something extremely evil in that ancient tomb. Mr. Lu is a little old and his yang qi is weak, so it's easy for him to be invaded by evil qi." Su Hongba said, "I see. No wonder I can't see anything from his pulse. Fortunately Hui Hui invited you here this time. Otherwise, Lu Qingzhong wouldn't be able to cure this disease." Qin Haodong said, "Our ancient Chinese medicine is all about medical skills, martial arts and magic skills. It's to deal with this kind of situation. But now most of the magic skills and martial arts have been lost." Hearing the conversation of these people, Zhu Chunmei finally understood how serious her old man's illness was. He actually went to the gates of hell. She couldn't help but say with fear, "You old man, I told you to retire early and enjoy life at home, but you didn't agree. Now you almost lost your old life." Su Hongba said, "That's enough, in-law. Don't mention the past. If old Lu survived this disaster, he will have a good fortune in the future. This time we have to thank little Qin. If it weren't for him, none of us would have been able to cure old Lu's illness. Don't thank me. We'll be a family in the future." Zhu Chunmei took Qin Haodong's hand and said, "I didn't expect my grandson-in-law to be so capable. He's much better than you two old men." Chapter 5:16. Qin Haodong said to the stubborn old lady, "Grandma, you misunderstood me. Su Hui and I are just ordinary classmates." Zhu Chunmei said with a smile, "It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. I started off as ordinary classmates with the old man. Slowly we became extraordinary and finally we became a family." Qin Haodong was speechless. Did the old lady want to recognize him as her grandson-in-law, or did she not want to pay the medical fee? As soon as he thought of this, Su Hongba said half-jokingly, "Little Qin, I think this is a good suggestion. Old Lu has spent some money on antiques these years. His family is very poor, and he has no money to pay for your treatment. Why don't I pay you for my granddaughter?" "Grandpa, what are you talking about? I'm not a coin. How can I use it as a consultation fee?" Su Hui glanced at Qin Haodong shyly. It was the first time for her to act like a shy little girl. Ever since she knew that Qin Haodong was the medical sage, there had been a subtle change in her heart. As the heir of a traditional Chinese medicine family, Su Hui had always regarded the medical sage as her idol. She admired his medical skills and medical ethics. In particular, the advent of the blood revival elixir had not only made an amazing breakthrough in medical skills, but it had also completely cured leukemia patients in all of Wuxia. Moreover, it had been sold at zero profit, which made her even more crazy about the title of medical sage. She hadn't recognized that Qin Haodong was the medical sage before, because Qin Haodong would use a little illusion on his face when he appeared on the screen. It looked very similar, but it was difficult for ordinary people to recognize it. In addition, he had the same mentality as Su Hongba. He felt that it was impossible for a dignified medical sage to come to Shanghai Medical College to study, so he didn't think about it at all. He only felt that this was a classmate with amazing medical skills. His intention was very simple, which was to improve his medical skills. But now it was different. She knew Qin Haodong's identity. It was a strange feeling. Every time she saw his handsome face, her heart would beat faster uncontrollably. Qin Haodong didn't know Su Hui's complicated feelings. He said, "Mr. Su, you must be joking. Su Hui and I are classmates. I'm just helping Mr. Lu. How can I charge you?" Hearing Qin Haodong's refusal, Su Hui suddenly felt disappointed. Lu Qigong said, "Little Qin, I'm not a doctor, but I know it's only right to pay for medical treatment. Old Su also said that my family really doesn't have much money. If I take less, I'll be letting you down for saving my life. How about this, I'll let you have a look at the antiques I've collected over the years. No matter which one you like, you can take it. It'll be my consultation fee." Qin Haodong said, "Mr. Lu, a gentleman doesn't take what others love. How can I take away your treasured antiques? Forget it." Zhu Chunmei said, "Little Qin, don't say that. Those things of his can't be eaten or drunk. They're useless there. If you like them, take them all away." Lu Qigong smiled and said, if you want to refuse my kindness, then you can only take Su Hui away. Qin Haodong didn't say more. He thought to himself, I'll just take one later. Su Hongba said, I think we're almost done eating. Let's go to old Lu's treasure room and have a look. This guy has collected a lot of good things over the years. Alright, let's go take a look now. When it came to his treasure room, Lu Qigong's face flashed with excitement. As a first-class expert in the Department of Archaeology at the University of Shanghai, he had no hobbies these years and spent all his savings on buying antiques. After that, he stood up and took everyone to the basement, where he had specially decorated his treasure room. After opening the heavy security door, there was a small room of about 40 to 50 square meters. The decoration and planning were simple, clean and chic. There was nothing else in it, just a storage shelf with antiques on it. Qin Haodong stepped in and a burst of rich spiritual qi came to his face. He glanced around. It was worthy of being the collection room of an antique expert. More than 80% of the collections in it were authentic. Little Qin, I don't know if you're interested in antiques. Take a look at these things I've collected. After entering the treasure room, Lu Qigong seemed to have entered his own field. He suddenly became dozens of years younger. He pointed to the products on the storage shelf and kept introducing them. This is porcelain unearthed in the Song dynasty. Look at the pattern. It's made in the Guan kiln. This is an ancient sword from the Qing dynasty. It has a history of more than 200 years. This is the work of Zhang Daqian. It's definitely authentic. Some of the things in Lu Qigong's collection had profound cultural heritage and some were expensive. If they were taken to an auction, it would definitely cause a great sensation. If these things were seen by treasure lovers, they would definitely go crazy, but they could not arouse Qin Haodong's interest. He just slowly appreciated them as old Lu introduced them, and his expression was always calm. Su Hui had been secretly watching Qin Haodong's changes. Seeing his expression, she thought that he was only good at medical skills and didn't know how to appreciate antiques. He didn't know the value of her grandfather's collection. But in her opinion, this was not a shortcoming. It was extremely rare and precious for a man in his 20s to have such profound attainments in medical skills. Who could ask for anything else? Sun Hongba also thought so. He said, Old Lu, don't show off your things. We're all Chinese medicine practitioners. How can we understand these things? Just choose a good one for little Qin. Lu Qigong said, what do you know? It's not that I'm stingy, but it depends on what little Qin likes. If he likes ancient paintings, why do I have to give him a vase? He turned to Qin Haodong and said, Little Qin, choose one yourself. Then I'll choose. Qin Haodong was about to point to an antique at random. Suddenly, his expression froze and his eyes were fixed on a corner of the shelf. There was a small sword about 10 centimeters long placed there. The workmanship was not delicate and the material was unknown. It was dark and without any luster. He took 2 steps to the shelf, grabbed the small sword in his hand, and felt the extremely weak spiritual power fluctuations on it. If he hadn't reached the gold core stage, he might not have found that there was an extremely secret seal on it. There was a seal on the yin-yang mirror found in Fatty Wang's house, but that kind of seal was very obvious, and it was also within the scope of Qin Haodong's knowledge. But the seal on this small sword was different. He could only feel that it was a powerful seal through the weak spiritual qi fluctuations, but he didn't know what kind of seal it was, nor could he see what treasure was under the seal. However, one thing was certain. The person who made this seal was definitely a master among masters. Something that could be sealed by such a peerless master was definitely not ordinary. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but feel excited. The yin-yang mirror was a divine weapon. What kind of treasure would this small sword be? Seeing him pick up the small sword, Lu Qigong stepped forward and said, I got it from the antique street. It cost me 100 yuan at that time. Later I also studied it for a while. It's neither copper nor iron. I can't see what material it is, let alone which dynasty it came from, so I've been keeping it here. Su Hongba said, Little Qin, you don't like this thing, do you? It's only 100 yuan. You don't have to save money for this old man. Choose another good one. Lu Qigong glared at Su Hongba but then said, Yes, Little Qin, even I can't see what this thing is. You'd better choose another one. Qin Haodong shook his head. In his eyes, even if all the things in the room were put together, they would not be comparable to 1/10,000th of this small sword. In the eyes of cultivators, this was definitely a priceless treasure. Mr. Lu, I'll choose it. Su Hongba shook his head and said, You're still too soft-hearted. It's not worth saving money for this old man. Lu Qigong also felt that this small sword was not worthy of Qin Haodong's life-saving grace. He said, Little Qin, this thing is really worthless. Why don't you choose another one? Qin Haodong said, No, Mr. Lu. I want it. It's a good thing, more precious than anything else. Lu Qigong asked in surprise, Little Qin, do you know what this is? Qin Haodong said, I don't know what it is, but I know it's a treasure. I took advantage of you this time. You said that. Why did you take advantage of me? I'm the one who took advantage of you. In Lu Qigong's opinion, this sensible young man was being polite to him, but he didn't know that Qin Haodong was serious. In Qin Haodong's eyes, this small sword was definitely a priceless treasure. He thought for a moment and said, Mr. Lu, I'll give this jade guanyin to you. As he spoke, he took out the jade crystal pendant he got from Shue's jewelry. There were 2 arrays engraved on it, one for exorcism and the other for gathering the sun. Originally, he just did it casually and hadn't thought about who to give it to. Today he just happened to give it to Lu Qigong. You saved my life and you still want to give me something. How embarrassing is that? Lu Qigong was an expert in antiques and had some knowledge about jade. After seeing this jade crystal pendant, he immediately realized that it was not an ordinary item. He quickly said, This thing is too expensive. I can't afford it. At this time Zhu Chunmei took the jade crystal pendant and said, You old man, you're really stubborn. It's obvious that little Qin gave it to Hui Hui. Young people are shy and embarrassed to say it directly, so he said it was for you. As she spoke, she stuffed the pendant into Su Hui's hand and said, Girl, you take it. Qin Haodong was speechless for a while. This old lady's imagination was too strong. Su Hui took the pendant in her hand and played with it. It was crystal clear and exquisite. The most important thing was that it made people feel very comfortable. Seeing that the misunderstanding was getting deeper and deeper, Qin Haodong quickly said, This pendant is really for Mr. Lu. It's a treasure given to me by a senior. As long as you wear it, you can shield all the evil yin qi within a radius of 10 meters. Not only can it protect the old man, but it can also protect their archaeological companions. In the past, Lu Qigong didn't believe in these metaphysical theories, but after experiencing this life and death disaster, he had completely believed it. After hearing Qin Haodong's words, he quickly said, Old woman, did you hear that? This is a gift for me. I can't give it to you when I work in the future. Su Hui also knew that she had misunderstood. She blushed and handed the pendant back to Lu Qigong. You old man, you even want to compete with your granddaughter for a pendant. Zhu Chunmei glared at Lu Qigong but didn't say anything more. Lu Qigong put the pendant on his body and said with some embarrassment, Little Qin, this thing is very valuable. Why don't you give me a number and I'll buy it? He had devoted his life to archaeology. He heard that this thing was useful for archaeology, so he was reluctant to give it back. Qin Haodong picked up the small sword in his hand and said, Old man, you think too much. This is my compensation for you. This jade crystal pendant was worth at least 100 million yuan in terms of money, but it couldn't be compared with this small sword in any case. Chapter 517. After giving the crystal pendant to Lu Qigong as compensation for the small sword, Qin Haodong left the Lu family. After sending him away, Zhu Chunmei said to Su Hui, Hui, I want to tell you that this young man is really good. You must seize the opportunity and don't miss it. Grandma, what are you talking about? He has a girlfriend. Su Hui was not stupid. Nailan Wushuang, Qi Waner, and Li Meiyu had been around Qin Haodong all day long. How could she not notice them? Zhu Chunmei said indifferently, That's nothing. I'm your granddaughter. What kind of boy can't match up to her? Just grab him. Su Hui did not speak and silently lowered her head. Since she was a child, countless boys had pursued her, but none of them had caught her eye. She was proud and felt that these men were not worthy of her. Now she was moved for the first time, but she had a feeling that she was not worthy of him. Qin Haodong was like a mountain in her heart. She could look up to him, but there was always a distance between them. In the Sun family of Shanghai, Sun Wei stood in front of Sun Qianqian with his neck tilted. Second miss, I've already figured out the situation. That guy is a freshman at the Shanghai Medical College. There are 4 or 5 beautiful women living in his house. Some are his classmates, some are his lovers, and there's also a little girl who is his goddaughter. Sun Qianqian frowned and said, These people have no direct relationship with him. Is it useful to kidnap them? Sun Wei said, It's useful. Must be useful. Second miss, you haven't seen how beautiful those women are. The more he spoke, the more excited he became. He had seen Nailan Wushuang and the others go out this morning. He had swallowed his saliva many times when he thought of the beautiful appearances of these women. However, he saw that Sun Shanshan's face was getting uglier and uglier, so he quickly said, "Of course, although these women are beautiful, they are still a little worse than Second Mississippi." After that, he secretly said in his heart, "God, forgive me. I lied again." Sun Shanshan's expression eased a little and she said, "Since you think it's possible, then find a suitable opportunity to do it." Sun Wei said, "I've been sending people to keep an eye on him. Just now that guy left with a girl and didn't go home. We can do it now." Sun Shanshan said, "Go. You must do it cleanly. Don't leave any trouble behind. Don't worry, Second Mississippi. That brat isn't at home, so capturing a few women is a piece of cake. As long as we capture him as a hostage, he will obediently return the building to us." Then Sun Wei called more than 20 people with guns and drove straight to Qin Haodong's villa. "Big brother, what are we going to do this time? Don't tell me he's still going to look for trouble with that kid?" The one who asked the question was a bodyguard with a mustache. He was really scared by Qin Haodong. Thinking about it now, he felt a chill on his back. "Look at you. Follow me, brother Wei. What's there to be afraid of?" Sun Wei raised his hand and slapped the bearded bodyguard's head. The man with the mustache felt extremely wronged. He thought to himself, "You've already been turned into a bear by him, so why are you still pretending?" Sun Wei added, "But don't worry. We're not going to attack Qin Haodong this time. We're going to capture his woman." Hearing that they were not going to face Qin Haodong directly, these people secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Sun Wei said, "Let me tell you that kid's women are all top-notch. They're even more beautiful than international models. As long as you can see or touch them, it's your lifetime's worth of good fortune." Hearing that there were beautiful women, these bodyguards immediately became excited. They all rubbed their fists and were waiting to show off their skills. At Qin Haodong's house, everyone was bored after dinner. At the suggestion of the little fellow, everyone changed into swimsuits and went to play in the pool. With the beautiful and lovely little fellow, the atmosphere at home was much more cheerful. From time to time, there were bursts of laughter coming from the pool. Sun Wei took his men to the door of Qin Haodong's house and asked the bodyguard who was guarding there. After confirming that Qin Haodong had not returned, he immediately rushed in with his men. When they came to the swimming pool and saw the faces of Lin Momo, Nailan Wushuang and the others in the pool, they all stood there like wooden chickens, drooling. Bikinis, long legs, sexy figures, beautiful faces, young women, queens, schoolgirls, sexy, pure and hot. This was simply a concentration camp of beautiful women. They could not imagine why there were so many super beautiful women in Qin Haodong's house. The little fellow was the first to find these intruders. She pointed at Sun Wei and the others and shouted, "Mama, look, there are bad guys." Everyone stopped and then they found Sun Wei and the bodyguards behind him. There were so many uninvited guests in the house all of a sudden. It was obvious that they were up to no good. Li Meiyu and Jia Shirhan were shocked, but Nailan Wushuang, Qi Wan and the others did not care. Lin Momo glanced at these people. She was now an expert at the third level of the Supreme Power Realm, so she did not take these people seriously. She asked coldly, "Who are you? Don't you know that this is a private house and it's illegal to come in at will?" Sun Wei came to his senses, wiped the saliva from the corner of his mouth, and shouted arrogantly, "Illegal? I'm here to take people away. Come out, all of you. It'll be bad if you wait for me to take action." Lin Momo was about to get angry, but Qi Wan came to her side and said, "Sister, it's boring to stay here. Let me handle these guys." After that, she swayed her sexy body and walked out of the pool. She pretended to be shy and timid and said to Sun Wei, "Brother, don't scare me. I'm very timid." Sun Wei swallowed hard again and said, "As long as you follow us obediently, there will be no trouble." As he spoke, his eyes kept wandering around the women's bodies. With so many beautiful women, it would be great to get any one of them in bed. Qi Wan walked in front of him and said in a sweet voice, "Brother, but I'm still afraid." Sun Wei was almost blinded by her white and tender skin. He said lewdly, "I'm here, don't be afraid. It's because you're here that I'm afraid. You're too ugly." Sun Wei was stunned. Before he could come to his senses, Qi Wan had already slapped his face. "Does your mother know that you look like a bear? And your neck is crooked. Is it convenient for others to slap you?" After a few slaps, Qi Wan kicked Sun Wei's lower abdomen and directly kicked him into the swimming pool. However, this guy didn't know how to swim. He almost choked to death before he could catch his breath. The other bodyguards were looking at the beauties. They didn't expect that the delicate woman in front of them would be so violent and hit them. Several bodyguards with guns hurriedly reached for their waists. But before they could take out their guns, Nalan Wushuang and Lin Momo also took action. They quickly put all these people on the ground and then kicked them into the swimming pool. After being beaten, these people lost the ability to move their hands and feet. They fell into the swimming pool and immediately drank. Fun, fun, fun. I'm going to water the mice, water the mice. The little fellow shouted excitedly. Qi Wan threw Sun Wei, who was half dead from drinking, on the shore and asked, "Tell me who sent you here. What do you want?" When Sun Wei was about to speak, he spat out a mouthful of water again. He planned to sneak attack Qin Haodong when he was not at home, but he never expected that Qin Haodong's women were so powerful. They were not people they could mess with at all. He really didn't understand where this devil came from. How did the second lady provoke such a ruthless person? The other bodyguards were also pulled to the shore. They were all like toads who were filled with water, with their bellies bulging and spitting out water. At this time, Qin Haodong came in from outside and saw Sun Wei, who was spitting out water with his neck crooked. He frowned and said, "Why are you here again?" Lin Momo asked, "Haodong, do you know them?" "Who are they?" Qin Haodong said, "They are the lackeys of the second lady of the Sun family. These guys are really haunting us." Qi Wan said, "What should we do? Should we call the police?" "It's too troublesome. Let's beat them and throw them out." These were all people of the Sun family. Even if they were sent to the police station, they would be thrown out soon. It was better to vent their anger. Qin Haodong grabbed Sun Wei's arms and shook them gently. He dislocated Sun Wei's two shoulder joints and then kicked him out of the door. "Get out of here. This time I'll just break your arms. If I see you again, you won't be so lucky." After that, he kicked the bodyguards out of the door one after another and closed the door. Sun Wei crawled up from the ground and ran back with his men. Qin Haodong said goodbye to Lin Momo and the little fellow and then hurried back to his room. He was eager to figure out what this small sword was. After closing the door, he took the small sword in his palm and played with it for a long time, but he still couldn't find a clue. The black seal covering the small sword was very strange. Even with 500 years of experience in the cultivation world, he couldn't recognize what kind of seal it was. He tried a dozen methods in succession but still couldn't shake the seal. If he couldn't unlock the seal, he couldn't crack the secret of the small sword, which made Qin Haodong feel helpless. He held the small sword in his palm, slowly closed his eyes, and used his spirit to feel the seal. Darkness, unbreakable, powerful and gloomy. This was the feeling that the seal gave his spirit. What should I do? Since he couldn't find a way to unlock the seal, he would try to break it by force. He made several reinforcement formations in the room, then took out the 1,000 blades and slashed at the seal outside the small sword. With a crisp sound, the small sword was still the same. There was no change and the weird seal didn't even fluctuate. On the blade of the 1,000 blades, there was a rice grain-sized gap. Although the 1,000 blades was not a magic weapon, it was absolutely sharp. Qin Haodong didn't expect it to be damaged so quickly. However, it could also be seen that this small sword was definitely not an ordinary weapon. It could hurt the 1,000 blades when it was passively defending. How powerful would it be if it faced it head-on? Thinking of this, Qin Haodong's heart became more and more itchy. So far, he hadn't had a good weapon. If he could unlock the weird seal, it was very likely that he would get a magic weapon. Since violence didn't work, he would try other methods. Using water wouldn't work, so he would try using fire. Thinking of fire, Qin Haodong suddenly thought of something. Suddenly, a thought occurred to him. His daughter's phoenix fire could burn anything, and it was the nemesis of all kinds of dark magic techniques. The weird seal obviously had a dark attribute. Maybe the little fellow could unlock it. Thinking of this, he immediately rushed out excitedly and took the little fellow out of the pool. The little fellow said, "Papa, I haven't played enough. Why did you bring me back?" Chapter 518. I'll play with the aunties later. I need to do Daddy a favor now. Qin Haodong said and took the little fellow to the basement. This was the alchemy room he had planned before, and the room was surrounded by a defensive formation. Putting down the little fellow, he took out the alchemy furnace and threw the little sword into the furnace. The little fellow asked curiously, "Papa, what are you doing?" Qin Haodong said, "Tang Tang, you just need to spit fire into the furnace like alchemy." "Okay, Papa, I haven't played alchemy with you for a long time. You're not at home and Mama won't let me spit fire. Now I can finally have a good time." After that, the little fellow opened her mouth excitedly, and a line of fire rushed directly into the furnace. From the outside, the flame of the phoenix fire seemed to be much more restrained than before, turning from a pillar of fire into a line of fire. However, Qin Haodong could feel that this line of fire contained extremely powerful energy, and it was much more wonderful than before. His daughter was indeed a phoenix. In such a short time, the flame had made great progress. After the phoenix fire rushed into the furnace, the little sword, which had been lying at the bottom of the furnace, suddenly jumped up as if it were alive, as if it wanted to stay away from the hot flame. But at the moment, it was trapped in the furnace. How could it escape? Soon it was surrounded by the phoenix fire. Seeing the reaction of the little sword, Qin Haodong was delighted. It seemed that this weird seal was really afraid of the phoenix fire. His method was very likely to break the seal. After the phoenix fire surrounded the little sword, it began to burn fiercely. A cloud of black qi rose from the sword and began to fight against the flame of the phoenix fire. But the phoenix fire was not an ordinary flame. It was extremely hot. Soon the black qi was slowly suppressed and gradually shrank to the surface of the sword in the burning flame. Qin Haodong said to the little fellow, "Tang Tang, add more fire." "Okay, Papa." The little fellow agreed and spat out a cloud of strong phoenix fire into the furnace again. This time the black qi finally couldn't stand it anymore. It began to dissipate and let out a miserable cry. About 5 minutes later, the black gas was gradually burned out by the phoenix fire. Then there was a slight cracking sound and the seal broke. Immediately after, a dragon's roar sounded, and a golden ancient sword appeared in the alchemy furnace. Success, there is indeed a hidden treasure. Qin Haodong hurriedly asked the little fellow to put away the flame, and then opened the furnace. The spiritual ancient sword flew out of the furnace and landed in front of Qin Haodong. "Tang Tang, go play with Mom and the others." Qin Haodong let the little fellow out of the basement, and then reached out to hold the ancient sword in his hand, carefully examining it. The sword was about 3 feet long and the hilt was 1 foot long. It looked very simple and unadorned, and it exuded a powerful pressure. One side of the sword was engraved with the sun, moon and stars, while the other side was engraved with mountains, rivers, grass and trees. The hilt of the sword was engraved with 2 ancient characters, Shenyuan. Qin Haodong was overjoyed. It turned out to be the most famous Shenyuan sword in Wuxia. According to legend, the Shenyuan sword was the sword of the Yellow Emperor, the sword of the Emperor. It was also the sword of the divine Tao, containing boundless power. It was a sword used to slay demons and exterminate devils. It was forged by the first mountain's copper, forged by the Yellow Emperor. In Chinese legends, the Yellow Emperor used this sword to cut off Qiu's head when he fought him. Later, the Yellow Emperor ascended to heaven with 3,000 women, and the sword was lost. Qin Haodong didn't expect that it would sit in his hand today. At this moment, a light rose from the sword and finally turned into a middle-aged man in midair. The man put his hands behind his back and was dressed in cyan clothes. Although he was only a remnant soul, Qin Haodong could still feel his powerful momentum. "Young man, from now on you are the owner of the Shenyuan sword. Since you have my Shenyuan sword, you have to shoulder the responsibility of protecting Wuxia in the future. Don't let the divine sword down and let the alien race invade our land." After that, the remnant soul began to slowly dissipate. Senior, Qin Haodong still had many questions to ask, but the figure of the middle-aged man had disappeared into the air. He sighed. It seemed that the Shenyuan sword had been sealed for too long. The divine sense left by the Yellow Emperor was seriously eroded, and could only leave such a simple message. Although he was surprised to get the divine sword, he also had many questions in his mind. Didn't the legendary Yellow Emperor Shenyuan ascend to heaven? Why was the Shenyuan sword sealed? In addition, who was the alien race mentioned by the Yellow Emperor? Did it refer to the Qiu tribe or someone else? Where did this weird seal come from? Who had the guts to seal the divine sword of the Yellow Emperor Shenyuan? Now it seemed that the Yellow Emperor did not ascend to heaven, and things were not as simple as the legend said. However, this mystery from thousands of years ago could not be solved and could only be kept in his heart. He turned his attention to the Shenyuan sword again. Generally speaking, it was difficult to subdue a divine sword with a master. But now that the Yellow Emperor Shenyuan had completely erased his divine sense from the sword, it became a sword without a master, which was much simpler. Qin Haodong cut his index finger and let a drop of blood fall on the blade of the Shenyuan sword. The blood was immediately absorbed by the Shenyuan sword, like water falling on sand, and soon disappeared. Then the Shenyuan sword made a soft sound, and the sword body shone with golden light. It suddenly shot toward Qin Haodong's forehead. Qin Haodong did not dodge. The Shenyuan sword disappeared from his mud-pill palace, and then a small golden sword appeared in his soul sense sea. It was the Shenyuan sword. It turned out that the famous Xinyuan sword was not an ordinary sword, but a cultivator's flying sword. With a thought, the Xinyuan sword appeared in front of Qin Haodong's forehead. He raised his hand and pointed at the wall. The Xinyuan sword suddenly disappeared and instantly pierced a hole in the wall. It was invincible and could travel thousands of miles in an instant. It was really powerful. He put away the Xinyuan sword. This discovery made Qin Haodong ecstatic. It was difficult to refine a flying sword with the cultivation materials on the earth. Moreover, his current cultivation had not reached the nascent soul stage, so he could not refine a flying sword. But today he accidentally picked up a ready-made sword without a master, which suddenly improved his combat effectiveness by a level. With the Xinyuan sword as his trump card, he could easily kill a master at the middle stage of the Gold Core realm. In other words, even if he met a master at the 6th level of the Supreme Power realm, he could kill him with one sword. It was a pity that he had not reached the nascent soul stage yet. Otherwise he could step on a flying sword and travel around the world. At that time he would not be able to find an opponent on the whole earth. When he walked out of the basement, the girls had already left the swimming pool and returned to the hall of the villa. Nalan Wushuang and Qi Wan'er were playing games with the little fellow. Jia Shirhan and Li Meiyu were sitting on the sofa watching TV. Qin Haodong asked, "Tang Tang, where's your mother?" The little fellow said, "Mom said she had work to do. She's in her room." "You play. I'll go and see Mom." After Qin Haodong said that, he pinched Tang Tang's cheek affectionately. Fortunately the little fellow was here today. Otherwise he would not have been able to get the Xinyuan sword. He quietly went to Lin Momo's room. Lin Momo was concentrating on writing something on the paper. She did not notice his arrival at all. Qin Haodong quietly went behind Lin Momo. He suddenly stretched out his hands and held her in his arms. Then he kissed her hard. Lin Momo's whole body tightened at first. When she realized that it was Qin Haodong, she relaxed. She stretched out her arms and held his neck, letting his two big hands attack her body. The two of them had been separated for about 20 days. Since they left, they had not tasted each other. Now that they were finally together, they were like dry wood and a raging fire. After a long time, Lin Momo panted and pushed Qin Haodong's big hands away. She said weakly, "There are still a lot of people outside. Don't mess around." Qin Haodong also knew that it was not the time to relieve the pain of lovesickness. He could only kiss Lin Momo's red lips gently, and then reluctantly separated from her. "How's it going today?" Lin Momo tidied up her messy clothes and said, "It's going well. Half of the people of the group have arrived. The other half and Saber will arrive today. The registration procedures have been completed today. The decoration company has already moved in and started the decoration. According to the plan, it is expected to officially open in 10 days. Qin Haodong said, "Good. It's very efficient. When we finish the business of Lin's group, we will start to work on Tangmen Pharmaceutical." Lin Momo said with some worry, "Haodong, do you think it's possible to open Lin's jewelry opposite Shue's jewelry? It's a bit stressful." Qin Haodong smiled slightly. "As long as Lin's jewelry enters Shanghai, we will be standing opposite Shue's jewelry. No matter where you open it, we will still be enemies. It's better to open it face to face. And I have already gone to see Shue's jewelry. The overall feeling I have is that it is luxurious on the outside but rotten on the inside. Although it is very famous, the internal management is chaotic, and the quality of the products is not high. Especially the jade products, the price of the same level is double that of Lin's group. The management can't keep up and there is no price advantage. In the end, Lin's group will win." Hearing Qin Haodong's words, Lin Momo was much more confident. "Haodong, it's great to have you. If it weren't for you, I really don't know when I could lead Lin's group to Shanghai." "Then how are you going to thank me?" Qin Haodong said with a smirk on his face. He was a little tempted again. At this moment, there was a rush of footsteps outside the door. "Papa, I'm here. I'm sleepy and want to sleep." The little fellow pushed the door open and entered. Qin Haodong picked her up, turned her around a few times and put her on the bed. He said, "Sleep if you're sleepy." The little fellow took his hand and said, "Papa, I want you to sleep with me just like when we were at home." Qin Haodong said, "Tang Tang, be good. Papa has something to do. It will be a while before I can come to accompany you and Mama." After comforting the little fellow, he left Lin Momo's room. At this time, the TV in the living room had been turned off, and the living room was silent. Everyone went back to their rooms to sleep. Qin Haodong returned to his room and opened the door. He was shocked to see Li Meiyu in a pink spaghetti-strap nightgown sitting at the head of his bed. Her smooth long legs on the bed exuded a tempting luster. He looked at the decoration of the room and made sure that he had not gone to the wrong place. He asked, "Why are you in my room?" Li Meiyu said with a sullen face, "I haven't asked you yet. Where have you been?" Qin Haodong said, "I went to Sister Lin's room to talk about something." "Talk about what?" Li Meiyu stood up and came to him. She stared into his eyes and asked, "What else can we talk about?" "It's about the Sun family's building." Li Meiyu said, "Why do I feel that the relationship between you is not normal? Sister Momo looks at you differently. Is there something you're hiding from me?" Qin Haodong said with a smile, "You're overthinking it. I'm too handsome. Don't you find that Sister Wushuang and Wan look at me differently?" Li Meiyu thought it was true. Then she asked, "When are you going to start chasing me?" Chapter 519. Qin Haodong was a little confused. "Pursue you?" "Yes, you said you wanted to pursue me. When will you start?" Qin Haodong didn't expect the little girl to ask such a question. He was stunned for a moment and then said, "Yes. Yes, I said that. Haven't I already started to pursue you?" "When did you start? Why didn't I know? I invited you to live in my house. If I didn't pursue you, why would I invite you?" "That doesn't count." Li Meiyu said discontentedly, "There are 5 big and 1 small beauties living in your house. How can it prove that you are pursuing me?" This question really puzzled the medical sage. From the bottom of his heart, he didn't want to pursue Li Meiyu. It was just for the convenience of completing the task of protecting her. "Then what do you think is a pursuit? Do you need me to teach you how to pursue a girl?" "I don't care. Anyway, from tomorrow on you will pursue me. If you are not satisfied, I will find someone else." After saying that, Li Meiyu walked out angrily and slammed the door. Qin Haodong patted his forehead. Why did this little girl become so serious? He turned around and said to the window, "Come in. Don't hide." "How did you know I was coming?" As soon as he finished speaking, the window opened. First, a snow-white and smooth long leg came in from the outside, and then Wan jumped in from the outside. She stepped forward and put her arms around Qin Haodong's neck. She patted his cheek and said in an accusatory tone, "As a bodyguard, you're really going to steal the girl you're supposed to protect as a bodyguard?" It turned out that she had been hiding outside for a long time. She had been watching the show and clearly heard the conversation between the two. "It's all because of you two. Why do you want me to be a bodyguard? If I don't trick her into coming to my house, who will guard outside the dormitory 24 hours a day?" Qin Haodong complained, "You two came to Shanghai without telling me. If I had known that you would come to complete the task together, I wouldn't have had to lie." "Is it a lie? I think it looks like it's a real show." Qi Wan'er said, "You are really a playboy. You have only been in Shanghai for a few days and you have already attracted so many women. How can I rest assured? Do you think I want to? I really don't have much freedom as a bodyguard. I'll go back and tell Sister Wushuang later to adjust my appearance fee to 10 million a day. Otherwise it's not worth it." Qi Wan'er curled her lips and said, "Do you think the bodyguard task is delaying you from hitting on Miss Zhou? With such a beautiful and sexy young lady of the Qi family by my side, how could I have the mood to look at the young lady of the Zhou family?" Qin Haodong looked at Qi Wan'er up and down. "You came to my room dressed so sexily tonight. Are you trying to seduce me and make a mistake?" Qi Wan'er was wearing a snow-white silk nightgown, which exposed her sexy collarbone and a large area of skin. The bottom part could barely cover her buttocks. The most important thing was that it was a vacuum inside, and the looming feeling was simply captivating. Qi Wan'er threw herself into his arms and hugged his neck tightly. She said in a sweet voice, "Then do it. Do you dare?" "Well, you win." "I don't dare." Qin Haodong licked his lips and asked, "Why did you come to my room in the middle of the night? We meet every day but I have to pretend to be a stranger. I can't even talk to you properly. I don't like this feeling very much. Sister Naylin went to take a bath just now, so I secretly came to see you. I'm your girlfriend." While speaking, Qi Wan'er's body was closer to him. Under the strong pressure, the 2 hemispheres of her chest rose high. Her pretty face was also close to his face and her breath was like orchids. Just in Lin Momo's room, Qin Haodong had been ignited in his body. It was not easy to suppress it, but now it was aroused again. He smiled bitterly and said, "You little girl, don't play with fire, okay? I'll play with it. What do you think?" Then Qi Wan'er kissed him fiercely. After a long time they separated. Qin Haodong gasped and said, "If you keep doing this, it's easy to draw fire to yourself. Burn me if you can." Qi Wan'er's coquettish eyes seemed to be dripping water. Are you still a man? Why don't you have any reaction at all? Qin Haodong suddenly became angry and leaned forward. How do you know that I have no reaction? Ah, the two of them were originally close to each other. Qi Weiner clearly felt the changes in Qin Haodong's body. Her cheeks suddenly turned red and she reached out and patted there. Rogue. Oh, this time she used a little more strength. Qin Haodong bent down with a painful face. Qi Weiner was shocked. She quickly supported him and asked, "What's wrong?" "You have the nerve to ask. Don't you know that this is the most vulnerable place for a man?" This really made the second master, who was full of passion, feel very painful. Even if he was a master at the third level of the Supreme Power Realm, this place was still extremely vulnerable, and it was still unguarded. "What should I do? Let me help you rub it?" Qi Weiner said and reached out her hand there again. "You demon, if I don't be a beast, then I'll be worse than a beast." Qin Haodong couldn't control himself anymore. He picked up Qi Weiner and threw her on the big bed next to him. Then he pounced on her. Qi Weiner had long been deeply in love with Qin Haodong. Was this moment finally coming? She slowly closed her eyes and tightly held Qin Haodong's neck with her hands. Just when the conditions were right, a series of knocks came from the door. "Open the door. Open the door." The two of them, who were full of passion, suddenly separated as if they had been electrocuted. They looked at each other and Qin Haodong whispered, "It's Li Meiyu. Why is this girl back again? It's all your fault. You flirt with other girls everywhere." Qi Weiner put on her nightdress again and kissed Qin Haodong's lips gently. "Remember, this is what you owe me. You have to pay it back sooner or later." After that, she jumped out of the window and returned to her room along the wall like a dexterous gecko in the night. Qin Haodong got up from the bed, shook his head helplessly and reached out to open the door. "Madam, what are you doing here instead of sleeping in the middle of the night?" Li Meiyu stood at the door and said, "Why are you so slow? Are you doing something shameful?" Qin Haodong said helplessly, "Sister, I'm going to sleep. What shameful thing can I do alone?" "It's shameful if you do it alone," Li Meiyu said as she pushed him away and walked into the room. "What the hell are you doing? Don't tell me you want to sleep here? In your dreams. I just left my phone here." Li Meiyu came to the bedside and took the phone in her hand. When she turned around and was about to leave, her eyes suddenly fixed on Qin Haodong. "What are you looking at?" Qin Haodong asked with a little nervousness. "Why do you have long hair?" Li Meiyu said as she pinched a long hair from his head. "You're not hiding a woman in the room, are you?" she said as she looked around the room vigilantly. "I want to hide a mistress, but I need someone to be willing to." Fortunately, Qin Haodong was not nervous after Qi Weiner left. He said, "There are so many women in the family. It's not a big deal if I have long hair." "You pass. Don't forget to chase me tomorrow." Li Meiyu glared at him and stepped out of the room. Qin Haodong shook his head. He didn't expect that this girl would call him seriously. It was a little difficult to deal with. The next day they went to the medical college together. The morning passed. Seeing that Qin Haodong still had no reaction, Li Meiyu's face became more and more ugly. "What does this guy mean? Is it so difficult for him to chase me?" She was the eldest daughter of the Li family in Hong Kong. When she was in Hong Kong, there were rows of men chasing after her. Now she offered him a chance, but he didn't want it. As long as he said something such as sending flowers, asking her out for a movie or having a meal, she would agree. Why didn't he say anything? She was angry. Su Hui said, "Meiyu, let's go for lunch." Every day at noon they went to the cafeteria together with Naylan Wushuang, Qi Weiner, and the 4 people from dormitory 508. Not long after they walked out of the classroom, they saw a handsome male student standing on the side of the road with flowers in his hand. This guy was wearing a famous brand suit and a watch worth hundreds of thousands of yuan. Although he was not as handsome as Qin Haodong, he was still passable. "Isn't this young Master Feng Bowie of our school? Which girl is he going to send flowers to? Oh, another girl is going to suffer. Many beautiful girls have been spoiled by this guy over the years. It's none of your business. He is rich. We poor guys can't compare with him." In the midst of the discussion, many students gathered around, waiting to see which female student Feng Bowie was going to attack. Li Meiyu pouted and kicked the stones on the road as she walked, ignoring the pair of limited edition high-heeled shoes on her feet that were worth more than 100,000 yuan. "What's wrong? You look unhappy." Su Hui asked. "No, I'm fine," Li Meiyu said, her face still gloomy. At this moment, a bouquet of bright roses suddenly appeared in front of her. "Li Meiyu, can we get to know each other?" Li Meiyu raised her head and Feng Bowie's smiling face appeared in front of her. "Who are you?" I don't know you. Li Meiyu said angrily. My name is Feng Bowie. I'm a junior at our medical college. I'm your senior. Feng Bowie handed the bouquet of red roses to Li Meiyu with both hands. These beautiful flowers are for you. I hope you can accept them. Li Meiyu was going to refuse, but she saw Qin Haodong behind her talking and laughing with Nalan Wushuang and Qi Wanhe. She suddenly became angry and took the roses. Even if you don't chase after me and send me flowers, there are others who will send them to me. I'm not unwood. Feng Bowie didn't know that Li Meiyu took the flowers because she was angry. He was happy. It seemed that a little girl couldn't resist his charm. Meiyu, can I have the honor to have lunch with you? As he said that, a gentlemanly smile appeared on his face. Meiyu, are you crazy? Why do you want flowers from anyone? Su Hui whispered in Li Meiyu's ear and then said to Feng Bowie, I don't have time. I've already made an appointment with Meiyu to have lunch with her classmates. She grew up in the medical college and knew Feng Bowie's character very well. She directly refused for Li Meiyu. Feng Bowie's expression changed, but in order to maintain his gentlemanly image, he smiled and said, That's a pity. Can we have dinner together tonight? Yes. This time, Li Meiyu agreed before Su Hui could speak. After that, she secretly glanced at Qin Haodong. She didn't really want to have dinner with Feng Bowie, but she wanted to see if this guy cared about her. Chapter 520. However, she was disappointed. Although Qin Haodong stopped, he was still talking to Nalan Wushuang and did not pay much attention to her. Seeing that Li Meiyu really agreed, Feng Bowie was overjoyed and said, Well, I'll wait for you at the school gate after school today. See you there. He waved his hand to Li Meiyu and turned to leave. At this moment he was overjoyed. Although he had slept with countless women over the years, it was the first time that he had slept with such a wonderful girl. He had thought that he would have to pursue her several times, but he did not expect that he would succeed so easily. It's over. Another little sheep has fallen into the wolf's mouth. It's a pity that such a beautiful girl is going to be defiled. Nowadays, the rich are the masters. All the good cabbages are taken by pigs. The students gathered around also dispersed and walked to the cafeteria in front. Su Hui said, Meiyu, how can you agree with him so casually? Do you know him? Li Meiyu said, He is very handsome. Why can't I go since he invited me? After that, she glanced at Qin Haodong again. Su Hui was very smart. How could she not see through Li Meiyu's thoughts? She could not help sighing in her heart. It seemed that she was not the only girl who liked him. At this time, Qin Haodong came over and asked, What's wrong? Who was that just now? Su Hui said, His name is Feng Bowie. He is a famous playboy in our medical college. He changes girlfriends faster than he changes clothes. He just sent flowers to Meiyu and Meiyu also promised to have dinner with him tonight. Well, let's go to dinner first. Qin Haodong grabbed the bouquet of roses worth thousands of yuan from Li Meiyu's arms and threw it into the trash can next to him. Hey, why did you throw away my flowers? Although Li Meiyu complained, she was very happy in her heart. It seemed that this guy still cared about her. Qin Haodong did not explain and directly took her into the cafeteria. Go home tonight and don't go out with that guy. Li Meiyu said, Why do you care about me? Who are you to me? She thought that as long as Qin Haodong said, I'm your boyfriend and you have to listen to me, she would not go and stand Feng Bowie up. But the result disappointed her. Qin Haodong said, That guy is up to no good. It's not safe for you to go there. I don't care. Whether I'm safe or not has nothing to do with you. Li Meiyu shook off Qin Haodong's hand and went into the cafeteria. The whole afternoon passed and Qin Haodong didn't say anything to Li Meiyu, which made her very disappointed. She became more and more nervous when school was about to end. This detestable bastard, why didn't he persuade me? Does he really want me to go out to eat with someone else? Does he really not care at all? She was now in a dilemma. She vowed to go out on a date, but she really didn't want to go, but she couldn't put down her face if she didn't go. It doesn't matter. If you don't chase after me, I'll show you that there are plenty of people chasing after me. When the bell rang, Li Mei walked toward the school gate in a fit of pique. After walking for a while, she felt that someone was following her. She turned around and saw Qin Haodong behind her. Feeling sweet in her heart, she asked, Why are you following me? Didn't we agree to go out to eat? I'll go with you. You don't need my help. Qin Haodong had no choice. After all, this girl was under his protection. He couldn't let her go out alone. She wants to date me. Who are you to me? Why do you want to follow me? Qin Haodong said, I just don't have a place to eat. You can take me with you. I'm your bodyguard. Well, then you can follow me, but don't talk too much. Li Meiyu breathed a sigh of relief. She was very willing to take Qin Haodong with her. On the one hand, she felt safe with this man. On the other hand, she could let Qin Haodong see how others pursued her. It would be too late if she didn't seize the chance. Qin Haodong smiled and followed her out of the school gate. A BMW 7 Series was already parked at the school gate. Feng Bowie was waiting in front of the car with a smile on his face. Seeing Li Meiyu walking out of the school gate, he immediately greeted her. "Meiyu, you're here?" Then he saw Qin Haodong next to her and asked in surprise, "Who is this?" Li Meiyu said, "He's my classmate, Qin Haodong. Is it okay for me to take him with me?" It's okay. After all, this was his first date with Li Meiyu. It was normal for her to take someone with her. Besides, this guy looked like a bumpkin at first glance. He would get rid of him later. Then he turned around and opened the car door. He originally wanted Li Meiyu to sit in the passenger seat, but he didn't expect that Qin Haodong would sit in the back seat and Li Meiyu would sit in the back seat. Feng Bowie glared at him fiercely. He suppressed the anger in his heart and drove to the front of a 5-star hotel. After parking the car, he walked into the hotel lobby with Qin Haodong. The lobby manager trotted to Feng Bowie and said with a flattering face, "Young master, you're here." Feng Bowie nodded and turned to Li Meiyu and said, "This 5-star hotel is the property of our Feng family. You can order whatever you want later. Our chefs are all national super chefs. Their skills are very good." Originally, he wanted to show off his wealth and superiority. Later, this little girl would naturally throw herself into his arms. But the result disappointed him. Both Li Meiyu and Qin Haodong reacted very calmly, as if neither of them took this 5-star hotel seriously. It must be because they had never been to a 5-star hotel and didn't know what it meant. Feng Bowie gave himself an answer and then said to the manager, "Are all my friends here?" "They're all here. They've already arrived in the private room. They're waiting for you, young master," the manager said as he led the 3 of them into a super luxurious private room. At this time, there were already 7 or 8 people sitting in the private room. When they saw Feng Bowie, these people immediately stood up and greeted him warmly. A young man with a big gold chain and a crew cut said, "Bowie, who is this beautiful girl? Is she your new girlfriend? Introduce her to us quickly." He was one of Feng Bowie's best friends, Gung-jun. Feng Bowie said, "Let me introduce her to you. This is the campus belle of our Devil Medical College, Miss Li Meiyu." He was skillful in his speech. He did not deny his relationship with Li Meiyu, which was equivalent to admitting that she was his girlfriend. At the same time, he flattered Li Meiyu by giving her the title of campus belle. Li Meiyu frowned slightly. She had attended all kinds of large parties in Hong Kong. How could she not know Feng Bowie's little trick? But she did not expose it on the spot. Feng Bowie continued, "Meiyu, let me introduce you to my good friends. This is the son of the deputy mayor of Dongqing district. This is the young master of Zhang's group. This is his family's oil industry." After introducing these people one by one, he said, "My friends are all famous in Shanghai. As long as you have any problem in Shanghai, you can ask them. There's nothing they can't do." A young man wearing glasses said proudly, "Yes, there's nothing we can't do in Shanghai. You can say whatever you want and they will respect us." He was also one of Feng Bowie's best friends. His name was Zhang Lei. His family was in the steel business and he had some underworld background. After that, they sat down together. As for Qin Haodong next to them, Feng Bowie deliberately ignored him. In his opinion, in this kind of atmosphere, as long as Qin Haodong was sensible, he would take the initiative to leave. Qin Haodong did not care about these people at all. His purpose was to protect Li Meiyu. As for these lowly people, he did not care about them at all. These people's attention was focused on Li Meiyu. They kept showing off the superiority of their small circle and praised Feng Bowie to the sky. Feng Bowie had a complacent look on his face. These friends of his were still very tactful and knew when to say what to say. But there was something that made him dissatisfied. Li Meiyu's attention was not on him at all. From time to time she looked at the toy boy next to him. Li Meiyu was also very unhappy. This guy seemed to really come to eat. All his attention was on the food in front of him. He did not stop eating and did not even look at her. During the meal, most of the food went into Qin Haodong's stomach. He ordered a total of 5 bottles of Bordeaux red wine, and he drank 3 of them. Although Feng Bowie's friends kept bringing up the topic, Li Meiyu was not in a good mood, so the atmosphere of the meal was always a little lacking. Seeing that he had spent tens of thousands of yuan on the meal, but he did not even touch the beauty's little hand, of course, he was not willing to let it go. He said, "Meiyu, how about going to KTV and singing together?" Gung Jun also said, that's a good suggestion. Mr. Feng's singing is very good, even better than professional singers. We haven't heard it for a long time. Zhang Lei said, let's go to the Wild Wolf KTV in the West District. The sound equipment there is excellent. Li Meiyu hesitated for a moment. She did not want to go with these people, but when she saw Qin Haodong's indifferent look, she felt resentful. I'll go with them. Let's see if you care about me. Thinking of this, she nodded to Feng Bohui. Seeing that Li Meiyu agreed, Feng Bohui was very happy, but he felt that Qin Haodong was an eyesore. Meiyu, your friend is full. There are not many seats in the car. Should he not go with us? Li Meiyu's purpose was to make Qin Haodong jealous of her. How could she let him go? She said, no, if he doesn't go, I won't go either. Seeing that Li Meiyu was so determined, Gung Jun hurriedly said, let's go together. The more people the merrier. There are still seats in my car. Zhang Lei also said, yes, the merrier. I'll call some little girls now and then we can have fun as much as we want. Although Feng Bohui was very unwilling, he had no choice but to take Qin Haodong with him. Half an hour later, they arrived at the Wild Wolf KTV in the West District. At this time, the nightlife in Shanghai had just begun, and the KTV was brightly lit. Walking into the KTV hall, they saw a row of princesses in uniforms and stockings standing on both sides of the hall. They were fair-skinned, beautiful, and had long legs. Most of them were part-time female students from nearby schools. When they saw the guests, they bowed and greeted them together. When the lobby manager saw Feng Bohui, he immediately came up to him and said, Master Feng, welcome. Feng Bohui nodded and said proudly, I brought a few friends here today. Let's have some fun. Give us the best #1 private room. The manager was very familiar with Feng Bohui. He smiled apologetically and said, I'm sorry, Master Feng. Brother Wolf has used #1 private room today. Why don't you go to #2 private room? Chapter 521. Well, room 2 it is. After Feng Bohui finished speaking, he turned to Li Meiyu and said, I'm sorry. In the past, when I came here, I always used the best private room #1. But today, Brother Wolf is receiving guests, so I have no choice but to use private room #2. You call room #2 a grievance? One of Gung Jun's men shouted, Master Feng, I heard that the minimum consumption of room #10 in Wild Wolf KTV is 10,000 yuan. Is that true? Of course. Don't you see what kind of place this is? It's the best KTV in Shanghai. Feng Bohui said proudly. Master Feng, who is the Brother Wolf you just mentioned? Is it the Brother Wolf who dominates the underground world of the Xiqing district? Feng Bohui said, yes, how many Brother Wolves are there in Shanghai? If others dared to call themselves this name, they would have been drowned in the river. Oh my god, it's really this Brother Wolf. I heard that when Wolf made his debut he used 2 big knives and killed 18 opponents in a row. That's how he became a famous figure in the underground world of Shanghai. I heard that Brother Wolf is 2 meters tall. He learned Kung Fu in the Shaolin Temple and no one is his opponent. I heard that in the underground world of Shanghai Brother Wolf can definitely be ranked in the top 3. No one dares to provoke him. Okay, stop arguing. It's a joke. Gung Jun said, what kind of person is Brother Wolf? It's not as simple as you say. He has a backer or he would have been arrested long ago. Zhang Lei said, that's true. I heard that Brother Wolf is well liked by both the underworld and the white world. No one dares to provoke him. You can ask Master Feng if you don't believe me. Everyone's eyes turned to Feng Bohui. Master Feng, have you seen Brother Wolf before? Feng Bohui said proudly, of course. My father once had a meal with Brother Wolf and I was with him at that time. If I had nothing to do with Brother Wolf, how do you think I could get the first private room? The first 3 private rooms here can't be obtained just by having money. The key is to have a reputation and social status. Speaking of this, he glanced at Li Meiyu proudly again. Being able to get to know Brother Wolf would definitely make this girl look at him in a new light. However, he was disappointed again. At this moment, Li Meiyu's eyes were locked on Qin Haodong's face. Qin Haodong was admiring his long-legged sister everywhere, as if he didn't hear what they said at all. He snorted and said, let's go. Under the manager's lead, they arrived at private room #2. Although it was not the best private room in Wild Blue Wolf, it was still extremely spacious, at least 70 to 80 square meters. Not long after they entered the door, the 7 or 8 little girls that Zhang Lei called also rushed over. These people were not old and most of them looked like high school girls. However, all of them wore heavy makeup and wore revealing clothes. Some of them even had cigarettes in their mouths. They looked like gangsters. Come on, Everyone except Mr. Feng and Miss Meiyu can have one. Zhang Lei was very good at dealing with people. He directly drew Feng Bowie and Li Meiyu as a couple, and then assigned a little girl to each of the others. According to Feng Bowie's instructions, 2 girls were assigned to Qin Haodong, one on his left and the other on his right. Seeing that Qin Haodong was handsome, the 2 little girls immediately stuck to him like beautiful snakes. However, Qin Haodong waved his hand and asked them to sit next to him. He said lightly, "Play by yourself. I'm not interested in you." After that, he grabbed a bottle of Royal Salute in front of him, raised his head and drank it up. Damn, how can he drink like this? Feng Bowie and the others were dumbfounded. This was a top-notch Royal Salute that cost more than 10,000 yuan, and this guy drank it up in the blink of an eye. So far, all of them had spent less than Qin Haodong alone. The most annoying thing was that he put down the bottle, shook his head and said, "This wine is tasteless. It doesn't taste good." Gung Jun hurried forward and took the other bottle of Royal Salute. If they did not hurry up, they might not have any more to drink. At the same time, these people were also very strange. This gigolo boy had drunk almost 3 bottles of red wine, but now he seemed to be fine and he did not seem to be drunk at all. "Meiyu, let's have a toast." Feng Bowie raised his glass and said to Li Meiyu, "I'm sorry, senior. I really can't drink." Li Meiyu remembered the lesson of getting drunk that night. Although she was angry with Qin Haodong today, she did not drink a sip of wine. Feng Bowie frowned. It had been a whole night. Although he tried his best to show off, it seemed that he had made no progress in front of this girl. "Well, you can do whatever you want. I'll have a toast." He drank up the wine in the glass, then reached out his hand and said, "Meiyu, dance with me. You can't refuse this time, can you?" Well, Li Meiyu had long known that this guy was not kind to her. If she danced with him in this dark environment, she would inevitably be taken advantage of by him. However, it would be a little unreasonable if she did not dance with him. After all, he had invited her to dinner and karaoke tonight. Suddenly, she thought of something and said, "Senior, I'm sorry. I have to go to the bathroom first." Then she hurried out of the private room and went to the bathroom. Looking at her back, Feng Bowie's eyes flashed with a touch of anger. "Little girl, let's see if you can run away from me." Li Meiyu hid in the bathroom for a while. She could not stay here forever. She washed her hands and went back to the private room. However, before she reached the door of the private room, a fat drunkard came toward her. The drunkard was a big fat man who weighed more than 100 kilograms. He was drunk, but when he saw Li Meiyu, his eyes lit up and he reached out to block her way. "Little girl, accompany me tonight. How much is it for one night?" Li Meiyu did not expect that she would be treated as a prostitute. She frowned and said angrily, "Damn fat pig, get out of my way. You be asterisk teach, how dare you scold me? I'm going to F asterisk CK you today." As the drunkard spoke, he suddenly rushed at Li Meiyu. Li Meiyu quickly dodged to the side, but it was not very convenient for her to move in high heels. Although she dodged, the drunkard grabbed her arm and held her in his arms. Li Meiyu suddenly panicked and hurriedly shouted, "Qin Haodong, help!" Qin Haodong was sitting in the private room drinking. Although the KTV was extremely noisy, his 6 senses were so sharp that he immediately heard Li Meiyu's cry for help. He kicked the door open and rushed out in an instant. At this time, Feng Bowie also heard Li Meiyu's cry for help, so he rushed out immediately. At this time, Li Meiyu struggled to break free from the drunkard and nervously hid behind Qin Haodong. Although Qin Haodong and the others came out, the drunkard did not intend to give up at all. He staggered over and shouted as he walked, "Little girl, you can't run away today. I'm going to F asterisk CK you." Feng Bowie's eyes lit up. It seemed like God wanted to help him by giving him a chance to be a hero and save the damsel in distress. Thinking of this, he did not hesitate at all. He rushed forward and kicked the drunkard's stomach hard. Seeing that he had kicked the drunkard, Gung Jun, Zhang Lei and the others naturally did not hesitate. They rushed up together and punched and kicked the drunkard. Seeing that the fight was almost over, Feng Bowie asked the others to step aside. He stepped forward and said to the drunkard, "Boy, keep your eyes open in the future. There are some people you can't afford to offend." The drunkard's nose and mouth were bleeding, but he was half sober. He struggled to get up from the ground, pointed at Feng Bowie and said angrily, "Boy, how dare you hit me? Wait and see." "Ha ha." Feng Bowie laughed arrogantly and said, "It's really interesting. How dare you yell at me in Shanghai? My name is Feng Bowie and I'm in VIP room number 2. If you have the guts, come and find me. I'll take on both sides." After that, he spat at the drunkard and then went back to the room with his people. He looked like a general who had won a battle. After returning to the room, he asked Li Meiyu, "Meiyu, are you okay?" "I'm fine." Li Meiyu shook her head. She regretted coming out today. "That's good. Have a glass of wine to calm yourself down." Feng Bowie handed a glass of red wine to Li Meiyu. Finally, he drank up the wine in his glass. At this time, his friends all surrounded him and said, "Master Feng, you were so fierce just now. Young Master Feng, you were really too fierce just now. That kick almost made that fatty faint, of course. Don't you know who Master Feng is? There is no one in Shanghai that Master Feng doesn't dare to beat." These people were all flattering him, but there was also a relatively timid person who asked, "Master Feng, do you think that guy will come back to make trouble for us?" Gung Jun said, "What are you talking about? Don't you know who Master Feng is? That guy is just bluffing. How can he really dare to come back? Otherwise Master Feng will break his legs." Feng Bowie said, "Xiaojun is right. Based on my relationship with Brother Wolf, who dares to come here to make trouble for me?" Zhang Lei also said, "That's right. Whoever dares to make trouble for Master Feng must be tired of living. Come on, let's cheer for Master Feng's bravery together. Cheers." Then these people raised their glasses and drank up. In the private room next door, a middle-aged man with tattoos was sitting on the sofa and drinking red wine. Behind him stood a coquettish woman, who kept massaging his shoulders with her hands. There were also two beautiful women in revealing clothes in front of him. They were massaging his legs, and there were more than a dozen tough-looking gangsters standing next to them. Even the ancient emperors could not compare to them. "Brother Wolf, have a grape. It's so sweet." Another woman next to him brought a peeled grape to Wolf. Song Lang opened its mouth and ate the grape. At this moment, the door was slammed open and a man stumbled in from the outside. It was the drunkard who had just been beaten up. Looking at the drunkard with blood all over his face, Wolf's face suddenly sank. He said coldly, "Brother, what's going on? Who beat you up like this?" "It's a group of bastards. They're in private room number 2. The drunkard gritted his teeth and said, "Cousin, you must help me get revenge. Don't worry, no one can bully my brother here." Wolf's face was so gloomy that it seemed like it was about to drip water. This drunkard was his cousin who had just come to Shanghai from his hometown yesterday. As a result, he was beaten up in his own territory. If the news got back to his hometown, how could he show his face? He waved his hand to the side and a bald gangster walked over. "Brother Wolf, do you want me to teach those bastards a lesson?" Wolf said with a sinister expression, "No need. Go and bring those people here. I want to see who has 3 heads and 6 arms and dares to behave atrociously in my territory." "Okay, Brother Wolf, I'll go now." After saying that, the bald guy rushed out of the private room with his men. In private room number 2, Feng Bowie and the others had just put down their wine glasses when they heard the door being kicked open. Then a big bald guy rushed in with his men. "You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.